I heard something similar to it that you can tell your kids, which is how did the elephant hide in a strawberry patch? He wore red shoes. Have you ever seen an elephant in a strawberry patch? See how well it works. And that's like, I love those kind of jokes. There's a whole bunch of them like that. They're not anti-jokes, but they're close. You know what
They're
I mean?
like abstract.
Well, kind of. There's like, what's the difference between an elephant and a plum? Plums are purple, elephants are gray. What did Tarzan say what did Jane say when she saw the elephants coming? Here come the elephants. What did Tarzan say when he saw the elephants coming? Here come the plums. Tarzan's colorblind.
Wow.
Hey, what's red and bad for your teeth? A brick.
What's big, red, and eats rocks?
What?
A big red rock eater.
Wow.
What?
Yes, these are anti-jokes.
What's long, brown, and sticky?
A stick.
A stick. Yeah.
What's purple and goes slam, 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 slam?
What?
A 4-door grape.
Oh my God.
Mythos Busters, investigating the mystery, monsters, and madness of Arkham Horror, the card game.
Hello and welcome to episode 124 of Mythos Busters. I'm Sean. It's Saturday night, and as I'm told, Saturday night is for the boys, right? Or is it Friday night? Is Friday night for the boys? Which one do the boys have?
I'm pretty sure it's Saturday is for the boys.
Saturday. Okay, I know it's all right for fighting.
All I know is the boys are back in town.
And that's Scott and Nick. Ian's not with us tonight. We've got a fun, fast, and loose episode for you guys tonight. We're going to do our normal intros and openers, and then we're going to plug right along, reviewing the cards from the Edge of the Earth Investigator expansion. And of course, we'll round it out with some tentacle time. But before we get to any of that, a couple quick announcements. Well, just one announcement, really, is that the Dissonant Voices Part 2 Edge of the Earth Part 2 for Dissonant Voices is imminent. I'm on the verge of finishing editing on it, so I'm going to finish that up this weekend. Hopefully, by the time this episode is released, it will also be out there on YouTube and Arkham Cards shortly to follow.
Ooh.
So, yeah, it's been fun. Nick, you set the bar high. I am constantly questioning myself on whether the character voice I'm doing is the right one for the character.
I'm just so thankful that I'm done. Like, oh boy,
it's a lot of pressure.
That's the best thing about recording Edge of the Earth is being done recording Edge of the Earth.
Dude, it is just, we knew it was going to be monstrous, and then I got the campaign guide. I'm like, this is monstrous. But then actually sitting down to do it was there's a lot of text. There's so much text. And so much conditional text too. Like it's not like all big swaths of prose. It's like, if this happened and this happened, then this. Then if this happened instead, then this. But if this happened and also this happened. Like anyway, you guys have played Edge of the Earth. You know what it is. So let's move on. Guys, what Arkham have you been playing lately?
I took Zoe out for a spin, playing with Mr. Trench. We played Carnival, and he took Harvey. No, not Harvey. Norman. Norman's the one that looks at the top of the deck.
Yes.
Yes.
Harvey does too. He just takes it in his hand when he does it.
Right, yeah. I was trying to remember which one was.
He's just always got his hand on the top of the deck, just waiting.
And I used a deck. I just grabbed one off of Arkham DB, and it was made by, if you've been on Arkham DB, starts with a name, Andy. Like, he makes a ton of decks, and his deck lists are always very thorough and very explained.
Extensive.
It
prolific.
Is like essays of text. And so if you ever need decks, go check out his stuff. But it's Zoe using Underworld support, so you get your decks thinning there. Also a stick to the plan, so you get some thinning there. And the whole idea is basically you get out the Cyclopean hammer and you get enchant weapon on it, and Zoe just melts everything in front of her.
And you punish some sinners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
And everything in between.
The wicked done. They done smote.
Yeah. Level 2 backpack to go looking for the hammer. Prepared for the worst.
That's like some Looney Tunes shit, pulling that hammer out of a backpack.
Yeah.
I love it.
For sure, I saw that in Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah.
And then because she has the Dunwich splash, you can include a copy of Astounding Revelation. So when you search the deck at the beginning of the game, Stick to the Plan pulls that out too.
That's going to be like your favorite trick for like all of Arkham. You're always going to be talking about that.
So anyways, the deck is called 21 Thump Street. If you want to give it a try. Because when you're done, like when you're all set up and like you've done all your opening turn shenanigans, like when you're drawing your opening hand, there's 21 cards in your deck. So like when you start the game, you're at 16 cards. So
yeah, so when you find your backpack, it's basically looking at your entire deck.
yeah.
So it's an
Well, that's
engine
fun.
builder deck where when you're done, the engine is just whack-a-mole.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah.
Fun.
So-
What campaign are you going through on that one?
You know what? That was just standalone. We did Carnival.
Okay.
And what's the? I can never pronounce the old one's name.
Nidathqua?
Thadakwa?
Yeah, Nidathqua.
I just
think.
dropped the
Nick-
C. It's just
Yeah.
easier if you do that.
Anyways, Zoe killed her in 4 actions. We didn't even row. I was like, why am I going to row? I have this giant-ass, well-equipped hammer. Just, yep.
Man,
So-
I never really thought about with Underworld support. You can really bypass having to spend a lot of XP that other decks would have to spend.
Yeah, this one, it also it's 22 XP, and it uses In the Thick of It to get that. Yeah, so only two basic weaknesses. And what do you put? Not Ever Vigilant. So it has upgraded on the Hunt, which is really nice.
Ever Vigilant in there, though, don't you? Or no?
Yes. Yeah, Ever Vigilant is in there. And I use that to play out her cross, Gret Wagner, and the hammer.
Nice. That's
8
a good
resource.
drop for
Yep.
Ever Vigilant.
Damn.
Yeah, it was fantastic. This deck, like, just sang. It is... It's going to be one deck that I think like, if I'm going to an in-person event, like, oh, you want me to, like, kill things? I got a deck. And it'll be this one.
Nice.
So, one of the more fun decks I've played in a long time.
Love it. Nick, how about you?
I've not played since I finished Ashcan Pete's Achievement Hunter through Dunwich. So Scott and I were talking about it a little bit though in the green room. And I was talking about like, gosh, I should play maybe like Joe, and then you had suggested Ursula, but Scott reminded me that the achievement just looks for the identifying the solution, not upgrading the solution.
Oh.
So I'm probably gonna go Finn, honestly.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because then I could also loop in the achievement that where you don't kill the hunting horror at all in Miskatonic Museum.
He'd be a decent one for that.
He'd be great for it. Yeah. So Finn with Strange Solution at level 0 and the hunting horror. He'd also be great to make sure I get Naomi again, so I can do the kill Seth Bishop with Naomi under your control achievement. And then I just gotta worry about ally play and getting enough charismas and getting enough space to then have Armitage and Francis and Warren in play all at once. So because that I think that's going to be the toughest achievement in general, other than the expert one, because of course the expert one is just fucking just all right, flip a coin, like let's see what happens. I have no idea what I'm going to do for Dunwich expert. I have no idea. Probably Gloria again, honestly.
That might honestly not be a bad spot for Preston.
I'm not making that mistake again. I'm not doing Preston again. No, Sean, you can't make me. I don't have PTSD, I swear. Preston is still in that house. I will never play him again because until he's out of that damn house.
He's been retired.
Every time someone mentions Preston now, Nick just gets what's that Vietnam song? Some people were born with gold spoons in their mouths.
I don't know it.
Anyways, it's the
Fortunate Son?
yes, it's the flashback.
Oh.
So just images of Preston in your eyes and.
No, as far as I'm concerned, he and the Ghoul Priest are locked in an eternal duel in the parlor. Who am I kidding? I didn't get to the Ghoul Priest half the time.
Yeah.
Oh no. Then I suppose for my part, I have not been able to play as much Arkham as I'd like. Basically, I'm just continuing the campaign that I mentioned last time, Return to Dunwich with Bob and Norm. Still pretty fun. Norm got completely ganked by Return to Essex. Just walked straight into like an Achilles heel shot and just got ripped off the train. And then, Bob almost made it, but not quite. So it's been a while since in 2-player I lost Essex because it's usually tough. But I normally pull it out. But God, Norman just got absolutely dumpstered. And I can't remember. It's like the freight car. It's whatever one that makes you test agility because
You have to test
Norman's
it twice too, right? Like you test it once, and if you fail, you have to test it again.
yeah.
Oh, and then you fall off? Is that?
Yeah, you take a damage if you fail it the first time, and you just are defeated if you fail it the second time. And it's only a test of 1, so like your average investigator is gonna have a decent shot at it. But holy cow, Norman! I got through the first one with an inquiring mind because I walked in there. There were some clues. But then I got stopped up with a grappling horror.
Oh.
He just locked Norman down to the freight train, and we flew off into the void. Next turn. So yeah. Anyway, I'm halfway through Blood on the Altar right now. It's gone very different from every other playthrough I've ever had of Blood on the Altar. It's been a wild ride, and I think we're gonna get like the weird special ending to Blood on the Altar. So here's hoping. Depends on how the next few turns go.
What's the weird special ending?
Light spoiler alert for the Dunwich Legacy.
Oh, come on. It's like 5
everyone.
years.
Well, no, people are like coming. Like the release thing is different now. So I just
Statute of
wanna throw that out there.
limitations.
Well,
good.
people have not. Statute of limitations only applies if like it's freely available to everyone to consume at the same time. Anyway,
True.
light spoiler. 30 seconds earmuffs, kids. Okay, it's when you defeat or you get all the clues off the hidden chamber with the Necronomicon in play.
Oh, right. Okay. Yep.
Oh,
All right,
yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
So
I was like-
Bob got the Necronomicon out, and we're gonna work on clues, but I had to figure out something to keep Norman alive because he's taken a lot of damage so far.
Oh, I'm glad that's not an achievement, having to do that little bit, because,
Yeah.
Anyway, so really having fun with that campaign. It's not my favorite Norman deck that I've ever built, if I'm being honest. Like, I think I just went really boring with it. I tried a few of the new cards, but I didn't like build for them well enough. So it looks a little bit too much like Norman decks of old. My brain has fossilized in that archetype. So I think next time I try Norman, I really need to try harder to do something different. I do really like his new signature, though.
Yes.
Leave Devon is so much better than Split the Angle. It is unreal.
That's Wizard Pipe, right?
Basically, yep.
Yeah.
It lets you
More or
Wizard
less.
Pipe, or it lets you commit the top card of your deck.
Mm.
Both of which are pretty clutch.
Yeah.
As anytime you can use Norman's ability to basically play the card or commit the card on top of your deck, you're drawing a card. Effectively.
Does his
Whatever.
new SIG make Split the Angle better by chance, or no? I can't remember what Split the Angle does. Oh, it lets you do the encounter deck.
Yeah, it looks at the encounter deck.
Yeah,
and
never
then,
mind. Fuck that.
Yeah.
And the problem with Split the Angle is
glorious
always
job.
that it's got the free action and the hard action swippy swapped.
Right.
If it were the other way, I would play that card. But what are you gonna do?
So Norman Split the Angle is literally Gloria at home. When you're like, Mom, can we get Gloria? No, we have Gloria at home, and it's Split the Angle.
Yep. That's pretty much it. It's real bad. Would not recommend. Definitely not worth the Hound either. So like those cards are just never getting played.
Yeah.
But I do still like the art on Novella Norman more than even the one we have, which is a Magali, which I normally really like.
I agree.
Yeah. All right.
I also played. Chris is just reminding me this is in the chat. And we had to like schedule this. He messaged me many months ago. He's like, "Hey, I want to play the Arkham Draft with you." And I was like, "All right, sounds good." It was like a 2.5 month. Like, okay, we're picking this date on this time. Put it in everyone's calendars. So I got to play Draft for the first time in a while.
Nice.
And it kind of. Yeah, it was super fun. It was super tight as far as who won.
Scott, really quickly for anyone who possibly has not heard about your draft mode, because it's been a while since we talked about it.
Yeah, so Mr. Trench and I created an adversarial draft mode for Arkham. We have custom-made weaknesses that I think are probably my favorite part of it, because
it's not just drafting the deck. Drafting the investigator, I think, is the part that always sold me the most.
Yeah. So yeah, you draft like their special ability, their elder sign, and then you get 12 points of stat points, and you can assign how you see fit. And then you have 14 vitality points, so you can do as you fit, and then you draft, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. And the decks get really weird because there's no like class restriction. Like whatever you draft, that's what you get. So. But yeah, it was super fun, and that kind of spurred Mr. Trench and I Casey to start working on a like season 2 of Draft and start incorporating some of the new cards. And some people were asking about Blessed and Cursed, and also like Myriad and Bonded stuff, and like because there's I forget where we figured it out when we stopped, but it was like before Innsmouth.
I don't even think there was a lot of bonded stuff back then, was there?
No.
Like when you guys did it?
Yeah, it might have been around Dream Eaters.
Yeah.
So I know we kept, we intentionally kept Myriad out. I'm pretty sure. Or maybe Bonded. I think because our whole idea was the first time we were going to do it, we just want it to be simple. And like, well, when we go back to it, we'll figure it out. So we're doing that now, and we're going to change some of those weaknesses. But man, like, it's so fun when someone else draws a weakness and then you get to go over to their table and just wreck them. It's just like one of those things, like one of the weaknesses is when you draw this, the other team comes over and they look at one of your assets in your play area, and they take all but one charge, use, whatever off of it, and then they can put those on one of theirs in their play area. Like it just oh, I love it. And also like one is like without them looking or anything, they just have to name a class in the game, and you have to discard all cards that match that class from your hand.
Oof.
Like it just but I mean that can totally whiff too. So well, one of my favorites is you get them to pick left or right, and then they say left or whatever, and you have to discard the 2 leftmost cards in your hand. So you can organize your hand beforehand, but then they have to pick left or right. So if you have like I had 5 cards, so I'm like, okay, I need this 1 card, so I put it right in the middle, and then you try and balance out like so you don't get absolutely wrecked if they pick the right side. So yeah. Anyways, those weaknesses, man, those super fun.
And then you draw that weakness when you have 3 cards in hand, and you're like, well, fuck my life, I guess.
Yeah. Well, then you're guaranteed, like, you pick the worst card, put that one in the middle, because you're gonna lose that one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we need to play that again. Any notable plays or picks from that session?
Well, you know what's funny is we actually had a realization that Mr. Rook is terrible in this format.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you don't want to pull those weaknesses out.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, basic weaknesses are like, some of them are just fine, right? Like, and if you know your investigator and you're planning to play around them, like, even their signature one is fine, but the ones that we made, because the decks are so powerful, because you're drafting, like I mean, you might have, like, 70 experience in your deck, and just, level 5 Guardian cards working with level 5 Rogue cards and Mystic cards, right? So like you get these weird combinations that are just busted. So we wanted the weaknesses to hurt, and so yeah, Mr. Brook is just one of those things where it's like, and we looked at the end because we started talking about mid draft, and Mr. Rook didn't get picked. Like he wheeled the entire time and then got discarded at the end. Like, yeah. So it's just funny to think of how different cards get valued differently when you're drafting them and stuff. So
yeah, alternate formats are super cool, and I think you guys did a grand job with that. Where could someone who wants it find more info on such a thing, Scott?
Well,
did we end up putting some info on the website?
That's what I was just going to ask. Do we have a page on the website?
I don't remember. I'm honestly not sure.
It's been so long.
I know we have on the server. If you go to the channel where you can pick your roles, you can pick the draft role, and then it opens up some draft channels lower down, and I believe it's pinned in some of the text channels, all the files you need and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so or just ping me on Discord. I'll send you what you need. So,
right on.
Yeah.
Well, with Casey's permission, maybe we should look at getting some info up on the website.
Yeah.
That might be a thing to do. Excellent. All right. So let's move it on then. We've got a couple of listener messages to catch up on here. So first, let's listen to one from Chris.
Hey, Mythos Busters. This is Chris M., a.k.a. Maka on Discord, one of your conglomeration of Chris's. I have a question for the crew. After 4 to 5 years, over 120 podcast episodes, hundreds of hours of gameplay, creating your own scenario, putting together a musical episode, getting an Arkham-themed tattoo, and soon to be running an entire convention for the game, what is it that keeps you coming back and getting excited for Arkham? Or maybe you're actually sick of the game and just keep it up to make sure that sweet, sweet Patreon money rolls in. Anyway, thanks for everything you do for the community. Can't wait to see everyone again at BusterCon.
Oh.
Okay, it's going to happen eventually. I know it hurts, but it's going to happen eventually.
It hurts.
It does. Chris sent us this before we announced that we were bumping in-person BusterCon. So it hurts a little bit, but it will be awesome. Yes, the money doesn't hurt. We'll go with that. I mean, we reinvest everything in the podcast.
I was gonna say, don't make it sound like we're just walking away with money bags.
I know. I had to walk that back.
It is very nice, though. You're right. It's nice to not have to worry about things like equipment and costs for doing these things that we do, like the scenario and everything.
Yeah, exactly. Nick, what I specifically meant by that was that the money, like the resources to be able to actually bring some of the weird ass ideas that we have to fruition makes it a lot more tantalizing and fun to have said weird ass ideas. So that is delightful.
It allows us to dream big, right? Like it's like, man, what if we did this for like swag? And it's like, oh man, it's a little expensive, but it's like, well, we can do it. So I also just still love this game. Like it's really fun. So I want to keep on playing it, and I enjoy I don't know, making how would I say this? Interesting choices on rating cards and having people berate me for them. So yeah.
But you can do that in any game, right?
Just continue doing hot takes on the internet.
Yeah, hot takes.
Original.
Yeah. Love hot taking.
If you had to pin it down to something, what do you think it is that keeps Arkham within your periphery? What keeps it there?
I think because the game has so many cards now. Like there are so many options for deck building. Like I'm just constantly building decks. Like my Arkham DB has it is just a mountain of unused decks because I'm constantly I wonder if this would work. I wonder how would I do this? How would I do that? Yeah. And then playing it, I actually really enjoy, as much as I enjoy the face checking, my favorite part of Arkham is playing through scenarios I know really well and trying to beat them soundly. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy that part of gaming in general.
So you enjoy finding the efficiencies within playing campaigns or scenarios?
Mhm. And like, that
tracks.
one little weirdness in a certain scenario, and you're like, that's the scenario's weakness. How can I jump on that weakness and just like rip it wide open? And next thing you know, like Essex is over in 4 turns. You know what I mean? Like yeah.
So with that being your drive, do you find yourself wanting to like press the limits of your own abilities by like moving to like hard and expert, or do you find yourself wanting more to like completely drill down to bone on those efficiencies within standard?
I used to play a lot of hard, and then I just kind of went back to standard, and I think I like how the game feels at standard. Expert is not fun to me
Right?
because it's just like a couple bad tests in a row, and it's just like, well, I mean, how do you plan for a -8, right? Like, there's just not enough resources in a deck to efficiently do that, especially like on the opening scenario. Like, it just, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
having like 3 or 4 essentially autofill tokens in the bag is a bit much for me. So.
And I think from the limited experiences I have, I completely agree with you. And I think the biggest difference is going from standard to hard. Yeah, overall the chaos bag gets worse, but in particular, the bad stuff tokens.
Yeah.
The modifiers get worse, but also the what they actually do within the context of the scenario changes and becomes more threatening. And I think that is the most interesting shift there for me. And then from hard to expert, all you have is you just, this one goes to 11. So it's not quite as interesting.
Yeah.
Nick, how about you? What keeps you coming back?
Well, I mean, Arkham is a great game, and like it is that bridge between, like, just like what we said way back when we started the podcast and Arkham was just coming out. It really bridges that gap between card game and RPG, which are I would say those are probably my top 2 favorite ways to game. So that's kind of obvious. But also, not only that, before Arkham, and this probably won't surprise anybody, but before Arkham, the card games that I enjoyed and played the most were dead fucking games.
No,
nobody was talking about them. Nobody cared. Like, and with Arkham, it's the complete opposite. Like, it's not only is it living, it is thriving, and it's been 5 almost or 6 years or however, it's been 20 years now, and it's still like the community keeps growing, the player base keeps growing, and that has done a lot, because even when I'm now, where I haven't played Arkham much in the last few weeks, and honestly, I don't have a strong drive to sit down and start another campaign at the moment. I'm gonna, but I don't, like, it's not like I'm not making time for it. It's still really fun and really exciting to know that I'm just, like a swipe on my phone away from being in the company of a bunch of people who love the game just as much as I do and are playing it all the time, even when I'm not. So I can still feel like the game is part of my life, and still, like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, with something like Wars, that game may as well not have existed unless I was playing it,
Right.
Whereas with Arkham is it's a pervasive experience, and I really appreciate having that level of community that I can always just go back and be like, oh yeah, there's a deck that gets you up to 100 cards that Scott designed, and Sean's thinking about this other Agnes build that he somehow hasn't tried already. You know what I mean? Like,
told you about that in confidence.
So yeah, I just really like that there's always Arkham talk to find and to be had, even when I just don't even feel like playing it. It's still awesome to connect with the community in that way.
I feel like you're largely describing the differences between sociology and archaeology.
I mean, you're right.
Apt.
Oh God,
Yep.
describing like looping wars in or using archaeology in wars and that hurts my heart. But you're right.
Yeah, but it's really fucking accurate,
But
and I know
it
that
is.
because I was there with you.
Yeah.
It
Oh
was
my
like
God.
unearthing like a dead like mini civilization
Mhm.
of a card game community that like really never came into its own. Like it's fascinating. But like there's still vestiges of it, and people were writing short stories in that specific ass universe until like the 2010s.
There's
like-
still stories are still coming out.
Stories are still coming out
Like,
for
I'm-
a card
I'm-
game that almost no one played.
I'm pretty good friends with the guy who literally owns the narrative rights and the RPG rights for Wars.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, he's cool. And I've written a couple of short stories, but I haven't gotten around to revising them yet.
Was that James?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, he was the one who originally sent me the short story files because I found him
Mhm.
on BGG like a decade ago.
Yeah. So we can
Like,
so
that's
so
crazy.
he has the ability to publish any fiction for the game and also to develop stuff for the D20 mod of the Wars universe, like that 3.5 D&D mod that was the Wars RPG. But not like nothing with the cards, obviously, and nothing like for some reason someone at Decipher is still like, nope, I'm gonna hang on to this property, it's not going anywhere. And like kudos to them, but like come on, man. Anyway, the universe is the universe is the best thing about Wars. Like the game is fun, it's really fun. If you like Star Wars, you'll like Wars. But in my opinion, that setting is just, it's a fucking banger.
It is really fascinating. It had a lot of potential. What's there is really good. I'm very sad that game didn't catch fire like they hoped it would, because it would have been pretty cool to see it get expanded farther than it did.
Yeah.
However, Arkham is, as you said, very much alive.
But yes.
And yeah, I agree. Like the fact that it's just an active, ongoing, still like discoverative, which is a word I'm inventing right now, conversation. It's very invigorating.
Yeah.
And Scott, I am totally with you on like the deck space. Like what keeps me coming back is the deck space that's available. Like all these different characters that have different backstory and look and feel and signature cards and deck building options.
They have backstory?
Believe it or not, Scott, check the back of the card once.
How
in a while.
many investigators? I'm going to ask each of you this. How many investigators have you guys read the lore text, the narrative text on the back of the card?
Under 5.
All of them. Well, all of them that
All
I've
of
played.
them?
I like the first time I play a new investigator, I read the back of the card.
Oh, really?
I just find the deck building stuff, and then I'm
Yeah.
good.
I'm just saying, I've read like 2, I think.
Fucking power gamers over
And,
here.
and one of them was super early in the life of the card game, and I only read it. It was Ashcan Pete, and there was a content creator that I don't think he even plays Arkham anymore. His name was Patrick. He was at our first Arkham Nights. We played with him. But he was doing like he was having people like do dramatic readings of certain investigators, and so I did Ashcan Pete, and I recorded that and sent it to him. So that's floating somewhere on the internet that I just randomly thought about today. You can find me reading as Ashcan Pete. I should have done that for our Achievement Hunter. God, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, you should have.
I guess, all right.
Leaving content on the table.
I'm committing to Finn. I'll be Finn in the next campaign, and I will play that campaign as Finn.
Oh, and Nick, you should write little blurbs for the campaign in between scenarios and have that be the intro to the next episode.
All right, now you know what create more work for me.
Well, that's no, but it scratches both your writer and your artist tickle, and just enough. It can be like a paragraph, and it'll be fine.
Sure. Yeah, all right, we'll see. Well, I won't commit to that necessarily, but there is room to have fun, like being. That combines both. Like I can be super serious about getting all the achievements, and I can also have fun with the narrative side, like the story side of it, and my voices.
But yeah, that's. I mean, Arkham's just a good game. It's got a live and vibrant community. It's I don't know. I think Lovecraft in general is like really cool source material, particularly in our world today, where we're talking about a lot of different things, and
Yeah, cosmic horror in general seems to.
Cosmic horror hits a nerve that I think like you feel on a few different levels.
Also, I realized a couple days ago because I was looking up something on Board Game Geek. Arkham Horror, the card game, is number 24 of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Among all categories?
yeah, like overall
Damn.
board games, 24. Like the fact that it's on the top 100 blew me away.
It's been in the top 100 for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, Gloomhaven's number 1.
That's so it's
Yeah.
it's fun, but it's not that great, guys. It's like Shawshank Redemption being the number 1 movie on IMDb. It's a good movie, but it's not the best movie.
You Got Served is obviously the best movie.
That's right.
No, it's Tammy and the T-Rex.
Oh.
Wow. Okay, so let's move on. We've got an email as well from a different Chris.
Woo! You mean
So
voicemail?
Oh, sorry. Yes, is that not what I said?
He said email. That's fine. I didn't need to correct you. That was my
No, it was
that was my neck beard coming out.
I mean, I don't give a shit if I said I'm a career mumbler and I say shit wrong all the time. I heard the plastic of your glasses being pushed up the bridge of your nose when you said that. Anyway, so we've got one from Big Kahuna. Let me pop it in chat here.
Hey Busters, Chris or Big Kahuna 216 here. I have a new griefing move for you guys.
Oh boy.
It's more potent than anything Safina or Jenny could put together. In fact, it doesn't use rogue cards at all. I'll tell you what it is in a bit if you want to try to guess it. It can completely take the legs out from under your fellow investigators if used in the most effective circumstances, like Act 1 of The Gathering, Search for Kadath, or Curse of the Rougarou. I know you're asking yourselves what the common thread is, but we'll get there soon. The move still works in most other circumstances, but not all. For example, it will be basically useless in Depths of Yoth. On top of all that, there are very limited counterplay options. Alright, here it is. Luke Robinson can block the forward progress of the rest of the investigators with a single card combined with the use of his gate box.
Oh my god.
When he gets into his dream gate, Luke can use Vantage Point to move a clue from somewhere to the dream gate. When the dream gate goes away at the end of the investigation phase, so there's a clue. In the previously mentioned scenarios, there are only just enough clues to advance the act. Even if it isn't the case that the scenario is unadvanceable, taking away easy clues off the board can still make it hard for the other investigators. As for counterplay, only Roland with his novella signature can create an additional clue. Aside from that, only an investigator going later in turn order who can discover clues from locations they are not at can beat a griefing Luke player. Additionally, Luke can run other griefing options like filling the bag with curses with his seeker cards, delving too deep, or just piling doom on the board with Renfield and Blood Pact. Anyway, I thought you might like to add this to the Hall of Shame with Scott's other
Shame?
decks. Thanks.
Can I just say that I absolutely love that my second favorite investigator has this crazy grief ability that my favorite investigator is the silver bullet for.
Yeah. I mean, I have to build this
silver
deck now.
bullet?
Like,
Not silver,
That
but
bullet's
okay.
made out of like reconstituted wolfram or something.
yeah, that's awesome.
It's amazing.
Just let it go away.
Just take
Buy
the clue.
clues. Yeah, just that's. You know, too is Mystic has a lot of grief, like Chris mentioned, a lot of options for griefing, and so did Seeker. Like my favorite griefing move is shortcutting someone into a room or like into a location they don't want to be in. You know, like the clue finder, just shoving them in with the boss, especially like if you are going last in the turn. So, yeah, fantastic.
So then the question ultimately remains, is it more trolly to just like slip out the door with your team's victory condition and just watch them squirm? Or is it more fun to turn by turn like Griefina do Griefina things?
Yeah,
One
I
is
don't know.
I think
one
you
is
gotta
definitely
switch
more
it
of a
up.
victory condition. I suppose one luxuriates in the pain of your team a little bit more.
Yeah, I feel like the vantage point thing might be like the coup de grace right near the end. You know, like you've been poking and prodding them the whole game, and when it comes down to like the last couple turns, that's when you jack out with the clues. And
Yeah, it's tough because you want to be able, like, you want to grief them enough to where they'll keep playing with you, but not so much that they just quit. You know what I mean? So it's a fine line that you gotta walk.
oh man, and vantage point is an insight, of course. So you can play Eidetic Memory to play it 4 times.
Oh my goodness. Bomb out every one of the acts.
Yeah. I mean, you won't get past the first one, so who cares? Oh my god. Oh no, Eidetic Memory is level 3, isn't it? I think.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, darn. Yeah.
Womp womp.
Oh well, I guess 2 vantage points is all you get. But
Excellent.
but you know what? You could versatile in for Survivor to grab was it Scrounge for Supplies?
Scrounge for supply. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's wow. You're going to some lengths to
Yeah.
get more use out of Vantage Point.
Yeah. I
The
still
crafting
love
of a perfect reef deck is its own art.
It's an art form.
Sub-Zero Joe's bringing this up too. Still my favorite one is Safina painting Delve Too Deep. Because
Oh god. All cost and no
Because you
benefit.
don't get the victory
yeah,
points.
like it just oh my god. This
Have
game.
you? We might have talked about it already, but have you looked into like Gloria grief decks at all? Because if you
No,
got control
I
over
haven't.
encounter draws, you can you can be like, the story we're telling today is a tragedy.
Kids, here's your second Frozen in Fear.
Yeah,
Have
exactly.
fun. Oh,
Wow,
my.
Finn, you're really scared.
Uh,
Oh,
So
first
then-
turn Delve Too Deep before everyone else takes their turn. Oh my god! You could like
You know,
paint it, then draw it, then play it.
you know,
my
I've
Lord.
I've played with that ultimatum where you do the Mythos phase before you take your first invest. You don't skip the first Mythos phase of the game. And when I played with that like when I first decided that was the ultimatum I was going to do, I was like, that's not that bad. And then it was when I was playing Preston, so it was literally like I saw it 9 games in a row, and it took me like half of those games to realize like that is fucking me over so hard.
Yeah.
Especially an expert, because it's like if I just draw the wrong treachery, my whole hand is gone.
Yeah.
And now I have no hand, and there's already a doom on. Like, yeah, it's oh my god. So yeah,
So-
delving and turn 1.
Chris also
Well-
mentions with Gloria, you could run the Stars Are Right, or like what's it?
Stargazing.
Card that
Stargazing.
Stargazing, and then put it in the top 10 of the deck, and then when you find it, like just throw it out. You know, like give them a little bit of hope, but then you discard.
Wow.
Oh my
Could you stack the Stars Are Right under Gloria? Just like steal it and let everyone look at it, and then
wait,
when
isn't
you
that what Scott was saying?
No, I was just saying, like, discard it off the... Like, you know, like, look at the top 2 cards. Oh, there's the Stars Are Right. Discard.
But instead you bury it.
and then when you draw your weakness, you draw the Stars Are Right and give it to yourself.
Oh.
Yes. Okay, that's the best. Yep, Gloria. Oh my god. Okay, now we got to build 4 grief decks and just see who can
Yeah,
grief.
4-player grief.
I'm sorry, there's something very special about griefing when you just can like stare everyone in the eyes as you're doing this shit.
Yeah.
And Gloria has a very specific energy while you're like grabbing the top 3 cards of the encounter deck and making
nobody has
meaningful
any
eye
idea what they're
contact with everyone.
What's a scenario where you don't have, where all you have to do is like survive to the end of a time limit? What's the other? It's one of the with the
Carcosa.
the organist or the
Yeah. Phantom
Is
of
it
Truth.
the doubt version where you just have to survive him?
I think so.
And the conviction when you're chasing him down. Yeah, so do the doubt. We have to play a standalone version of that scenario using the doubt rules and we're just griefing each other because our goal is to get the other people not to last until the end.
Oh, that's fun. Because then you have a boss to maneuver around.
Yeah, exactly.
Too.
Yeah, so then you could shortcut people into the space with him. And...
I don't know if there's any scenario to test out a grief deck and do a little mini game like that. That one might be at the top of the list.
Or do it in Too Deep or whatever the 18 locations.
Oh God!
Are. And so then you're just like trying to throw people around the map and.
The Yoth and how low can you go challenge. The float to the top challenge.
Oh, sure. Well, but the problem with that is that you kind of want, like, in that one, it would literally be just you never leave the first level because everyone's griefing so hard. You know what I mean? Like, that one you still have to kind of work together to make some progress.
Oh, horror in high gear.
You mean a road trip hot seat, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Oh my God.
All right. Anyway, thank you, Chris,
new
and
scenario
Chris
or new
for calling
episode
in.
topic.
Yeah.
For sure. If you want to call into the Mythos Busters hotline and leave us a comment, question, a thought on something we said or something we should have said, please do. That's 203-493-MYTH, 203-493-6984. Scott, I think we had a Gmail from a listener that definitely is worth covering because I think we made a pretty grievous error in one of our prior episodes, right?
Yeah, James H. Emailed us and said, "Greetings, signature allies." I like that. While listening to your most recent podcast, I could not help but notice an error in terms that ought to be brought to your attention. I wasn't sure what error he was referring to because I'm sure we make a lot, but while discussing the Edge of the Earth expansion, one of your hosts erroneously referred to the new components included in that campaign as frost tokens. This is incorrect. The proper term for them is, of course, snokens. Sincerely, the inebrious Nightgaunt. So, snokens. I mean, yeah, that wins. Mm-hmm. I thought he was going to be like, fast actions are not actually actions. We're like, what's Zappy Boy? No.
Electrocution window.
Electrocution window. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you for that clarification. I will now use snokens.
I'm trying to find the path to go from snokens to Supreme Leader Snokens, and I can't find it.
That's what his mom called him.
Come here, Snokens.
Snokens.
Snokens, your sandwich is on the table.
Oh my. Nick, what we got going on with the patrons?
Yeah, so with Ian's absence, I will assume the patron chair. It is a comfy chair that Ian normally keeps. But first of all, thanks to our board members, Chris B, Chris M, Chris H, our conglomeration of Chris's. Oh boy. Morton, Jared, Ian, Kyle, Philip, Patrick, Abilio, Jesse, Chad, and Robert. Special shout out to a random patron. This episode is Chris Miller, another Chris. Just as a reminder, mythosmerch.com is still up and still available. Go there, check out all of the awesome merch that we have for you guys. And if you are sporting that merch out and about in your daily lives, take some pictures and send it to us on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter. I think we're on Instagram. I don't know. And especially if you see someone else wearing it, like if you're walking around and you see someone else wearing a Mythos Busters thing, take a picture. They're like Pokemon. You got to catch them all.
But don't tell them what you're doing. Just like run up to them and take a picture. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we're like, "Hi, what are you doing?" Just like take it, laugh, and run.
Yeah. Run away shouting, "Scott'll love this." And then job titles. We have at least one, but we're going to bump it to next episode for when Ian's here because we know how much he loves it.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically it for patron stuff. And then news. I see a news piece has randomly appeared on the show notes between when I started talking about patrons and when I finished. So for those of you, we talked about FFZ printing stuff with their in-house printer, notably the Novella and the Parallel Investigators. Well, now Parallel Wendy is available at FFZ starting now. So actually probably started like a day or two ago.
A couple days ago.
Yeah.
And that is the game Zenter for anyone who's not in on our
Right.
in lingo yet. if you go search FFZ on the internet, you will not find anything. I picked that up. I don't know how much they allocated for like online orders versus what was in store, but there were like sub 10 left when I went to the store to get mine today. And I have to say, our quick aside on Parallel Wendy, I have not been as excited by a parallel design for an investigator since Agnes. I picked her up. I am so super excited. The build that Ian was talking about with the cursed spells seems really cool. I'm definitely playing her in my next campaign, probably alongside Parallel Skids, just to see how that goes. There was a Parallel Skids build that we talked about recently that sounded really cool, right? Was that on the podcast or was that in the patron chat?
Yes.
I have to find it.
Episode.
Okay, yeah, it was last episode.
Maybe. Yeah. The Parallel Wendy's awesome. That is, she's fun.
Very much looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Scott, any big rules PSAs you want to throw out there?
No. I really should get around to looking harder for these things, but I know there's a big group of not guys, but people who are collecting a bunch of rules questions and like organizing them and like sending them to Maxine as one big like document.
Okay.
So yeah.
Valuable.
I might bring that up next time. I'm going to talk to them. They have their own little Discord server where they like it is getting down to rules minutia that for the most part like most players don't need to worry about, right? Like it just but that stuff interests me, the parsing of different rules and stuff. So yeah,
you want to talk
Awesome.
about real quick, I was just saying, you want to talk about thriving communities. There's a Discord just for obscure Arkham rules questions.
yes.
No joke.
Yeah.
That's wonderful in its own very, very nerdy way.
Mm-hmm.
And if anyone has a rules piece out there that you feel like the community at large may have missed or might need a little bit of a sharpening on, feel free to call into the Mythos Busters hotline at 203-493-6984. That'd be another great reason to call the hotline.
Or you can go to your Facebook page, our Facebook page on your cell phone and just hit call.
That's right.
And we'll just
There's an episode topic. Just list. We should just come up with awesome reasons to call and leave a voicemail.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Anyways.
What? Wow. All
Thanks,
right.
Scott.
I got you, man. Don't worry.
Let's crack on into our continuing card reviews. And let's start out with that Dragon Pole. Nick.
Oh, okay. Dragon Pole is a mystic asset. It costs 3 resources. It has a combat icon. It is item, weapon, and melee traded. Its game text reads, you have 1 additional arcane slot. Action, fight! You get +1 combat for this attack for each of your arcane slots that is filled. If at least 2 of your arcane slots are filled, this attack deals +1 damage, and it takes up 2 hand slots. I played this in, what's her name? Lily.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of regretted playing it in Lily.
Really? This feels like that's who it's designed for.
Well, that's why I
kind of
put it in there, because I was like, oh, sure. You know, Kung Fu pole for the Kung Fu lady.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't, like, I don't know. It's so dependent, like, it takes 2 hand slots.
Mm-hmm.
And it costs 3.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want it to just have a damage bonus on it just for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure.
And the fact that it didn't, it was just too slow for it to come online. And when I did have two spells in play, I could never find it. You know, it was that kind of stuff. So
I played it in Akachi, like a fighting Akachi.
Sure.
And that was super fun. It did take a little while to get set up, but I mean, I'm already playing the spells anyways, so
right.
I prioritize the spells, and then, then I have this Dragon Pole come out later, and it's, And then you have 3 arcane slots, so you can get, like, tons of stuff out. and you can pretty much do anything as a Kachi. So,
well, and also I realized too that Lily only starts as Mystic, and eventually she's gonna, as the game goes on, she gets less and less Mystic-like. And so you kind of run out of, like, it's either, okay, I'm gonna keep running level 0 spells, or I'm going to, like, upgrade out of this to a different weapon anyway. You know what I mean? So she may not be the best, despite the theme matchup, she may not be the best investigator for this.
I think it's not terrible for her at level 0, but I do think with her options, she upgrades out of it pretty quickly.
Yes, yeah.
But at level 0, it's pretty okay. I too have run this in Akachi. I feel like what's cool about this is it does push a Mystic build in a different direction. I think if you're going to use it well, than your average Mystic build, because this is kind of fulfilling the need of your Shriveling or Azure Flame or whatever you're using there.
Sure.
And if you want to get this up online faster, you probably want to start looking at cheaper spells to have in your arcane slots. Because first, you just want to be able to get this out and get it rolling pretty quickly. So having them be somewhat cheap, like cost 2 or less, ideally. But then on top of that, you also have a free arcane slot, because chances are you're not running Shriveling or Azure Flame. So just like on 2 counts, you've got more space to do different things with your arcane slots.
Sure. So
now,
do you see this? Because when I saw this, my thought was like, oh, cool, now I can go all in on that deck that's just all about getting extra arcane slots. But then I realized that one of those is Sign Magic, and that also uses your hands. So you can't Sign Magic while you Dragon Pole, sadly. But have you, like, so did you run familiars in that deck?
Nope. So basically, between your 2 normal arcane slots and the one this gives you, the way I built it, I personally didn't have any use for more arcane slots than that. Basically, once you get to the damage boosts, you're rolling, and then if you fill your 3rd one, great.
Sure.
But as with any deck, there's only so many actions throughout the game that you can spend playing things. So I feel like to play this and have it feel worthwhile, you do still have to keep that in mind, and you have to really adjust your normal Mystic mindset to play into that. Because if you throw this in and you also play the rest of your Mystic deck the way you normally will, this is going to feel super slow and really not worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I do have to throw it out there. I'm playing a Dream Eaters campaign with listener Kyle, board member Kyle, from Optimal Play, and he has this in Lily with Bandolier, upgraded Bandolier. So he's basically, I don't know, because he plays this with Butterfly Sword, so he's either got, like, wrist-mounted pole or wrist-mounted blades.
And
either way, it's cool.
He's taped the swords to the end of the pole.
That's right.
To each end of the pole.
Or to, like, the back of his hand, so it's like Wolverine,
Yeah, right.
With full swords.
Yeah. Then
Be
holding
careful
a Dragon
picking your
Ball.
nose.
Yeah.
Vinny B asks what you use to fill those arcane slots if they're not for fight spells, which is a really good question. I like Mists. I like Blur. Depending on your investigator and your player count, I think Scrying is worth looking at. And the other one that I think gets a little bit cheeky, but I do still very much enjoy it, is our alchemical transmutation. If you've got someone who's got the willpower to hit a big test on that, it's not bad. 1 cost, be able to burst up on resources when you need to.
And you will need to, because you need to play all these spells.
Yeah. Spendy deck.
I mean, honestly, what Mystic really needs is something like Ever Vigilant. We've got Unquiche the Soul, but that's a one-shot, one-asset thing. To be able to soak up a bunch of play actions into one action is really what Mystic needs at this point.
Yeah.
We'll see if we ever get it. Interesting card, though. Perfect. Scott, would you like to read the next one?
Yeah, so we have Meditative Trance. It is a 2 costs level 0 Mystic card. It's an event. It has a willpower and intellect icon. It's insight and spirit traded. And it says, for each of your arcane slots that is filled, either heal 1 damage or 1 horror. You let your mind drift into cold, meaningless oblivion. The emptiness feels like home. It's like the 8th time I've heard the flavor text. Ever. I'm just kidding. But, call back.
2 cost. It's the versatility for healing is nice.
Yeah.
2 cost. That's not nothing. Action as well.
You know what though? I play emergency aid in Mark, and it's a 2 cost action event. Heals 2 damage.
The difference is that this requires setup.
True. Yes.
Emergency aid just requires you to take damage.
Yeah.
So this is another one kind of like Dragon Pole. At first, I was like, awesome. But then when I take a step back and I kind of consider the card a bit more, I'm like, it's kind of asking a lot to just heal 2 damage or heal 2 horror or whatever. Or 1 and 1, I guess.
I do like the Mystic got a little bit more healing just because they do have those spells that kind of, like shriveling, right? Like if you draw a bad stuff token.
Right.
It pings you, so. But
Yeah,
also,
no, that is cool.
some Mystics are really squishy, so 1 or 2 damage healing might be the difference between a victory and a big old L, so.
Sure.
Ah, boy, I wish this were a spell, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even... Oh, it's Insight. What?
Yeah,
Wrong
this is
color.
a really weird spot for me. I like the idea of it. I like... I keep going back to the phrase we keep using recently, but I'm not sure that the juice is worth the squeeze on this one.
I'm glad I've converted you all to that phrase.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good metaphor. Because there is juice, and I'm sure it tastes good. But holy cow, you got to squeeze hard, and like it requires the resources and play actions for the arcane slots that are filled. It requires that you are also, if you're going to do more than 2 healing with this, with setup, it requires that your deck also be geared for that and have an extra arcane slot and something in it. And then on top of that, you're paying an action and 2 resources. It is a tough squeeze, man. Ooh, it's a tough squeeze.
What is the card that your arcane slots can hold accessories and your accessories can hold arcane things?
It's the new tarot. I can't remember what the purple tarot is. Is it Hierophant?
That sounds right. I wonder...
Yeah, chat confirms Hierophant.
Yeah. I wonder if there's something there.
Maybe.
And you have a bunch of trinkets that are taking up your arcane slots, right? But you're using accessories. Because there's some cheap accessories.
Interesting. But then also, with all of those cards played, you need it to be worth it for you to include a card in your deck to heal damage or horror. So you either need to be like Luke with like a very specific weak spot, which is his health. He's got as little health as you could hope to have.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, I don't know. It's so tough for me at 2 cost. If this were 0 cost, I'd be way easier on it.
What about like Blood Magic Agnes? Like Parallel Agnes. Does she need the healing?
I mean, if you're not using her parallel back, probably, because then she has a survivor access, which has a decent amount of like soak and healing. I don't know. It's tough.
I wanna figure this out with the tarot. I wonder if there's a build with you fill your arcane slots with accessories instead, and like depending on what you have access to, like if survivor access has, was it Rabbit's Foot, and Rogue has Lucky Cigarette Case, so you can build like a low cost, high draw, something. Yeah, I see this is exactly
like Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose any Dunwich investigator could pull those 3 cards together.
Yeah, he might be the one.
Yeah, but Jim already heals. Jim's signature heals horror.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe this deck has a place, but it's tough for me.
See, this is when we were talking about like what keeps you entertained in Arkham, like this, right? Like, does this work, right? Like, but I just don't know if the multi-arcane slot deck has like that big payoff that you want. You know?
Yeah.
Which card I had to step away to squeeze some juice. Which card are we on now?
We're still meditative trance.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's about as much as I'm going to say about the card. I don't know yet. I haven't been using it yet. Oh, Lola. There you go. You can take all those different trinkets. And,
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, now I want to build this. So.
Well, and yeah, Lola's only got 6 and 6 to start, so she'd probably find it a little bit more useful than your average one.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right, we'll come back to that. If you find a particularly splashy and fun use for it, I'd love to know.
Okay.
But until then, let's close the circle. Which is a level 1 mystic asset. It is 2 cost. It has a fight and an agility icon. It is ritual and synergy because we don't want to give the spell trait in this campaign. Its uses 1 charge for each class among cards you control, including this one. So minimum 1 or 2 if you're Akachi, and then 1 up from there. And then its ability, free triggered action. Spend 1 charge and exhaust. Close the circle. Take a basic action. For each skill test performed during that action, you may use your willpower instead of the skill indicated for that action. And it takes up 1 arcane slot.
This goes in Patrice.
Sure.
And with the multi-class cards now, you can get this up to 5.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Does this
Especially
go in Patrice over Mind's Eye? Because like Mind's Eye was doing a somewhat similar thing, right?
Yeah.
Or is it in addition to? Is it a Porque no los dos situation?
I mean, you could. And just
Mind's Eye the one that you have 3 copies of it and each one replaces a different skill, or am I thinking of?
No, that's Empower Self or something.
Yeah, that's Empower Self.
And that works the opposite, where it's like if you would use your other skill.
Yeah, Mind's Eye is the one where it's like when you go to take a test, instead of taking it with whatever you're going to take it with, you change it to willpower, and you spend a charge, and then you can fast discard another copy of Mind's Eye.
That's right. Yeah.
To put 2 charges on it.
But Mind's Eye is a double arcane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So you would need an extra slot to get Close the Circle and Mind's Eye running.
And obviously
Which
the other
your
benefit...
Dragon Pole.
There you go, Dragon Pole Patrice.
This is not bad with Dragon Pole.
I didn't think about Dragon Pole with a double arcane. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if you plop this in and you get 2 resources on it, if you get 2 uses on it, is that okay? Are you feeling okay about that, or do you need to throw this down with 3 before you feel good about it?
At least 3.
You spent an experience on it. You want to get more than 2 charges.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is though, as opposed to Mind's Eye, which just replaces the skill on a test that's already happening, this is itself a free basic action, which. That's pretty flexible and actually bypasses a lot of things, i.e. attacks of opportunity mostly, which is pretty good.
Yeah, because you can just move. Also.
Or investigate or whatever. Yeah.
The basic action does not have to have a skill test attached to it. I didn't think about that. It doesn't have to be like an evade, a fight, or an investigate.
And if you're at one of those shitty locations that's like when you go to move out of here, test agility or something useless like that, you can swap it for the other useless stat.
Oh my god, I love this in Dexter. I love this in Dexter now. This is very, very good in Dexter. I would play this and
wait, just because you
happily take because it plays for cheap. You'd get the use out of it quickly, and then you bounce it. And in Dexter, I would not care if I only had 2 charges on it. Love it.
Well, you'd want to have 2 charges on it because oh wait, never mind. It doesn't go away on its own. So yeah, you could bounce it when it's empty.
Sean, by the way, Chad's bringing this up. You would take attacks of opportunity because you're taking a basic action. It's just like Ursula's free, So.
Boo! Wait, even though you're taking it as a Zappy Boy?
Yeah. Like Ursula's extra action is a
okay,
a circly one.
I see that.
A reaction?
I don't like it, but I see it.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah, I like this Patrice a lot.
Yeah, this is still pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's cheap, so like you can, when this runs out, put the next one down and then cycle this one. You'll get it back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It would be nice though if there was a way to add more charges to it.
Akachi.
If only.
Yeah.
Oh, or the other
Go ahead,
Akachi. Winds of Power is an Akachi card. It is a level 1 Mystic event that costs 2 resources, has 2 will icons. It is spirit traded. Its game text reads: place 2 charges on an asset you control. After you draw Winds of Power during your turn, play it.
2 willpower icons, especially that. I like this card.
Yeah, because Mystics are hurting for willpower icons.
No, but it's one of those cards where it has 2 very good uses.
Right, it's not like it's giving you agility, combat, will,
yeah,
or something weird like that.
Yeah. Or like agility combat.
Yeah.
Like, thanks. Yeah, I like this. If you're gonna be like it's a toolbox card for building a deck where you're, I don't know, running Mind's Eye or Close the Circle or whatever, right? Like,
or anything with charges.
Yeah,
literally any spell. Yeah. The thing with these cards, like I see that and I'm like, oh, awesome! I get to play it. Like drawing it in my turn. That's so cool. Mm-hmm. I never draw these cards during my turn. I never Cryptic Writings or whatever the Seeker one is. Mm-hmm. I've always drawn it in the upkeep phase, and it's so frustrating, but still good. So
yeah.
Have we said yet that it's unfortunate that this is also not a spell, because this would be such a good combo with Arcane Initiate?
That's true, yeah.
I think that that Max and Jeremy were trying to show us that Mystics are more than their spells in this expansion.
Yeah, stop being so one-dimensional, Sean.
But then all the cards are like, while you have Arcane slots filled with spells, like, what else goes in Arcane slot? I don't know.
Apparently rituals.
Some.
And synergies.
Oh, and yeah, okay.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. You know what? If you're playing a deck that is going to be going all in on a certain spell and you want to make sure you have extra charges on it, this is a great card to put in. It's one of those cards, like, it's not flashy. It just does what it does.
Yeah.
It's cool. All right.
It's extra ammo, but for Mystics. Also, this can work with, like, Gatebox. It can work with anything with charges.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gatebox. That's the only example I have off the top of my head, so that's what we're going to go with.
I also love how in the art, I have no idea how, like, actually accurate it is to any shamans in actual African culture, but her staff is exactly Rafiki's staff from The Lion King.
That's probably...
It's probably a reason for that, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's probably not that Max is a Lion King fan.
You're gonna sit here and tell me to my face that Max is not a Lion King
I
fan.
didn't say that. I just said that's probably not necessarily the reason why.
Well,
right,
she probably had the foresight to look up what those staffs look like.
That seems accurate.
Yeah. Foresight is a level 1 seeker event. Sorry, cost 0. 2 intellect. Can't talk tonight. 2 intellect icons. An augury traded. Again, not a spell. Fast. Play when an investigator at your location would draw a card from their deck or the encounter deck. Name a card. If the drawn card is the named card, the investigator may either choose one, cancel that card's effects and discard it, or immediately play that card at -2. This is a Norman card, right?
Definitely so.
Or a Gloria card, obviously.
And also that.
Yep.
But you're not running this in any Mystic. This is literally for if you're going the scrying route.
Yeah.
Because you're not just going to be like, okay, Ancient Evils. Oh, damn it. Like, I got the mobster or whatever. You're not going to just shoot from the hip with this. No, you're not. Like, not unless
you're not going to plan to do that. But I could see in a situation where you're, like, playing solo and you're down to your last turn and you're like, okay, there's one card that would wreck me if I draw it right now.
Yeah. Ancient Evils, right?
I mean, sometimes Ancient Evils, or like if it's
But if you're in
like...
the Witching Hour, like the Witching Hour to end the game.
Oh,
right?
sure,
Like,
sure,
yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But, there are clutch moments where if you know the encounter set or the encounter deck well enough for that specific scenario, like, if I draw this now, it's Coitons.
So are you saying that you would include this in a deck?
No, not to do this. I'm just saying there
Okay.
are situations where even if you don't know what the next card is, you might still look at this.
Okay.
Network brings up that this is how you grief Norman.
Yeah.
So when he draws the card he's going to draw the card that he likes on the top of his deck, you just cancel it. Yeah.
Wow. And discard it. Yep. Also, pointed out in chat, gets around weaknesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could just neuter a
wow.
weakness with this, which is
There are
not
very few
bad.
cards that do that.
Yep.
Like this and Ikiak, and that's it.
Yeah.
And this can get signature weaknesses where Ikiak cannot. So this
shit.
is even a step above that.
You do have to like find it and set it up.
Yeah, like you're not gonna be throwing both of these to like Dread Curse. Okay, good. I'm Dread Curse. Oh no, like
Yeah.
that made sense in my head. But.
Yeah, I mean, sure, you could do that. Dread Curse sucks. I think that this is like experience 7 and 8 when you upgrade Scryings in a deck that's doing that. You're not putting this in and of itself, but if you're playing a Gloria, for sure, obviously that's what Gloria does. I will toss it out there. I think depending on the campaign, definitely look at how terror heavy it is or omen heavy it is. Scrying is like maybe one of the better cards you could fill an arcane slot up with if it's not an attack or investigate spell. Just tossing that out there. So, not just Gloria might look at this. Though Gloria definitely looks at this. It's amazing.
I just think like I would probably be judging you pretty harshly if you threw this without knowing what the card was. You know what I mean? Like that's my thing. Like I see this and I'm like, okay, it's good, but if you're shooting from the hip, I think if you're playing it that way, you're objectively playing it wrong. I'll go that far. I'll go that far.
I would agree that this is like a secondary card. This card itself doesn't create or facilitate a key strategy, but it plays off of other cards that you have in your deck that are. Yeah. All right, so then let's move into occult theory, which is of course our level 1 mystic skill. It has practiced and expert traits. While occult theory is in your hand or committed to a skill test, it gains willpower icons equal to your intellect and intellect icons equal to your willpower. When knowledge is lacking, the belief must suffice.
Sean, you mentioned this last time, that skill cards are at a point now where you're like, I just don't want giant stats. I want effects that do things, right? I want a card draw. I want to move. I want something. I'm iffy on this whole suite of cards.
Yeah.
They're ones that they read great, and then you're actually building a deck, and you look at it compared to something like Fearless or, another mystic skill that also does something.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're right. You don't get an extra effect. You just win better. And so these, for me at least, they tend to be, I usually include them right away, but then there's some of the first ones I cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally think this one might be a little bit, tiny bit better than the other ones. I don't know.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Because let me ask you this question in kind of support of my theory, hopefully. Are you guys still including cards in your deck for investigators like that are just like a burst of willpower? Like, hey, a couple times per game, I'm probably going to want to have a shot at a willpower test. And are you like still devoting, 2 to 4 slots in your deck for accounting for stuff like that?
In non-mystics?
In an investigator that needs help is all I'm asking. In general, not just with this card.
Much less often now than I used to. Like I used to throw 1 guts, maybe 2 in every deck. I very rarely do that now.
Well, okay, but do you still like throw in Take the Initiative or Inquiring Mind or something that kind of does the same thing but a little bit differently but still kind of sits in that slot? Or are you just of the mind that you're like, I'm just gonna like plow through all the willpower tests, and that's the way it's
I mean,
gonna be.
I include take the initiative, but that's also those are wilds though, so that opens. I know most encounter cards are going to be will, but there are a lot, especially in later campaigns, that aren't. And take the initiative helps with all those as well. So, but you asked, do I include willpower? I don't include willpower stuff, but I do include, like, not specifically for willpower, but I do include a lot of stuff with wilds, even if they're timing dependent, like take the initiative.
Okay.
Yeah, I tend to, like, I hear what you're saying, Sean. Like, when I put take the initiative in a deck or inquiring mind or something, like, or goodness, what's the 4 wild icons, but you put a
Promise of Power.
Yeah.
Promise of Power.
I was thinking of that one too. Yeah.
So the only time I like those big stat cards and they don't do anything else besides big stats is when they're wilds, because I don't necessarily think what you're saying, Sean, where I'm like, oh man, I need to pass a willpower test. Like, I need to prepare for that, like, once or twice in a game. I'm just like, you know what? I need to be able to pass any
test. Yeah.
Like, there's got to be a specific one. And so I don't look for necessarily willpower icons. I'm looking for huge amounts of wild icons. Because, like, honestly, in this one too, like with some, I think Akachi, like for instance, this would be like great for her investigating, but why not just use like Sixth Sense or something and like skip this? Or if you're using this as a willpower boost for her, I believe she only has 2 intellect, so you might as well just run Unexpected Courage or Perception. So, yeah, this one I think has the best. Like, this one is gonna give you a sky high value on whatever test you're taking.
Right.
I think in a lot of investigators who are going to take this.
But it's really tough because, as you point out, like, Promise of Power exists, and it's level 0, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, it's really tough to look at this when that option is available to presumably anyone. I guess maybe Norman doesn't want to occupy one of his level 0 slots with it, but he's also probably not looking at this very hard. So
no.
Network throws out circle tests.
I mean, but any skill is good in those, right?
No, but this adds, it gains,
it's like exponential.
It gains willpower and intellect icons, right? So it, like, in Daisy, this would be a +8 on a circle test.
So throw these in for the one scenario.
Yeah, like,
it's
this
not
would be
bad.
So this is kind of like what I was saying with, like, what brings me back to Arkham. Like, if I wanted to tweak specifically on that scenario, I would be like, I need to go find the stuff that just makes my like, the weird off things that make, my stats huge. Like, this would be something, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to like these skills more than I do, and I keep coming back to that, but
they're a cool idea, but it feels like they came out too late.
Yeah. I kind of like this in Daisy, just because, like, the way I build Daisy, like, I'm using her willpower somewhat often.
Sure.
And this hits the 2 skills that I'm going to be using, and, like, makes my willpower an 8, and would make my intellect an 8. So, to me, I guess this is also, like, these cards are, if you choose the right card for the right investigator... and you know it's a test that needs to succeed, right? And you want to get into 1 token territory, these are the cards for that.
This would have saved me an immense amount of pain back in the day when I first took solo Agnes against Where Doom Awaits.
Oh yeah, there you go.
It's worth pointing out.
This these, I agree, these cards, I think they're good in certain investigators, or rather you look at them more seriously in certain investigators, because when I played Lily, I ran the Guardian version that's combat agility, and I had no problem with that. Like, but Lily also has a lot of tools, or rather I should say Edge of the Earth Guardians now have a number of tools that let them use their agility for more than evading, and so that I got extra use out of it, essentially. But
I do like that one too, because I feel like an emergency agility, that's the one stat where I'm like, actually that one can be, a 5 agility, like 5 agility icons or something like that. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that can get you out of a tight spot.
Mhm.
That's the one skill test that I'm like, I would consider a skill card that doesn't have a card draw or something for that.
Sure.
I would agree. I think a quick burst of agility can very often be like the exact pressure valve you need in a certain
yeah.
situation.
Yep.
You got like evade a massive enemy to like let some things happen, or evade a different enemy to make other things happen.
Or you're in solo and you just got caught with your hands full.
Yeah.
And you weren't ready to take an enemy.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move it on. Scott.
Parallel Fates. I love the art in this card.
Mm-hmm.
Parallel Fates is a level 2 Mystic Event, 0 cost, a willpower, and a wild icon. Augury traded, no spell. Look at the top 6 cards of an Investigator's deck or the Encounter deck. You may either return them to the top of that deck in any order, or shuffle them into that deck. If you look at an Investigator's deck, that Investigator may draw a card. So the way this has changed from the level 0 one is this one has a willpower icon extra. And the old one was look at the top 4 cards of the Encounter deck. Reveal a random token. If you get a bad stuff token, shuffle those cards. Otherwise, return them in any order. So this is
the good part about
deeper.
this card is it doesn't completely undo itself,
Yeah.
which is not a high bar to clear. But yeah, we did it, and it's much better for it.
We got there.
Is this the biggest, like the most dramatic change from a low level to a high level version of a card? Like
It's a pretty big glow up, but that's just because level 0 Parallel Fates is terrible.
right. No, but like, yeah.
Is there... I would argue that the biggest glow down is probably Monster Slayer.
But
Because
but
that level 5 card is garbage, and then the level 0 one is
Oh.
like, this is useful.
When you say glow
Yeah.
down, we're still glowing at the with the change. I see.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But it's the level 0 is better than the level 5.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
because you're not spending 5 experience on one test
Yeah.
Yeah.
or one encounter rather.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is, I think, one of the first examples of a Mystic card that has one of those like special token drawbacks just going away.
Yeah.
Instead of also getting more intense with the upgrade. And I am so for that, because the bad stuff effect was the entire reason I didn't play that other card, or the level 0 card. Like, I am not going to do this if just a bad stuff pull makes
Could
it so
change
that I
it,
just
yeah.
wasted the action. Like, that's
Right.
so intense.
Those kind of cards are rough too, because if you're doing poorly in the campaign and you have more of those bad stuff tokens in the bag, then you're getting punished by your own deck as well. Like, it's like, oh, it's almost a lose more card.
The good thing, though, is, too, like, if you're playing Bless or Cursed, you're going to water down those bad stuff tokens.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blessed and Curse admittedly makes that a lot better. Or less worse.
Yeah, that's a big difference, actually. It seems like it's the same thing, but it's actually not.
I feel like being more specific there. But
So
the other thing this has is
Yeah.
that you can look at an Investigator's deck, you're scrying their top 6, and then you can have them draw cards. This is like a free rook if someone who's got a big enemy and just needs to find a specific card, or I guess needs to find a specific card for any other reason, you can spend one of your actions getting them there.
Or, like, this is a Scenario 8 purchase when your Investigator has doomed and on its final step. Is it doomed?
It would be the bell
Yeah.
tolls at that
The
point.
bell tolls, yeah. So,
Fun.
yeah. Okay, but, I mean, the amount of times I'm going to use this on a player's deck,
Right? Yeah.
I feel like it's, like, this is me looking at the Encounter deck. Almost all the time. Because I think that is way more powerful than...
Unless
looking
you're
at
playing
Investigator
Grief Gloria
deck. Yeah?
and you just want to set them up. You want to give them that
True,
bell
yeah.
tolls.
Yeah. Or whatever weakness, right? Like,
Yeah,
you see a couple weaknesses and you just stack them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, go ahead, draw a card.
As a scrying card, so my question is, in solo, this is great. 6 turns worth of cards, you know what's coming. 6
Yeah.
turns worth of, that's a whole ass agenda.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what's coming.
Yeah.
Pretty great. In 2-player, 3 turns, still pretty
Yeah,
good
that's
for a
good.
single action.
Mhm.
3-player, 2 turns,
Yeah.
still pretty good for a single action.
Mhm.
Are you still looking at this in 4-player where you're leaving question marks on the table?
You still
does
you're
the math
seeing a
get weird there?
lot still. Like
I think so, because what I would do is like, to me, so Gloria's idea in 4-player, which I find Gloria in 4-player, that's where you start to see like a little bit of the weakness, because like she can only see essentially one Mythos phase, so she has to constantly be doing it, right? But you weave this in, so you with Gloria, you see 7 cards, right? Because you see an additional one, and you find the 4 you want to deal with now, and you put the other 3 away. And maybe you also line up those 3 so they line up with whoever can take it. And either you just take your luck with that 1 card out of 8, which to me isn't that bad. Or
Not
you're
at
just
all.
scrying next turn. And so all you were doing was setting up this turn, and it just gave you 7 options, choose 4. Right? And so next turn you're gonna see those 3 again with whatever you're using, scrying or whatnot.
Yeah.
You're gonna see those 3 and the 4th one, and then you can decide.
But
Yeah.
even Gloria aside, I think it still has a place in 4-player.
Yeah.
6 cards is a lot, and you're basically telling two of your team, like, I know you're set up for a while, like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So
What's that Guardian card?
first watch.
Yeah, like that one is a single turn, right?
Yep.
I guess this takes an action because that one
And-
is fast.
Yeah.
First watch potentially lets you reallocate too. Like you can
Yes.
you
Yeah.
can actually stack yourself up a little bit with encounter cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But this
no,
one will
but
let you
it's good.
push a bad one turn deeper.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I will be interested, as I've yet to play Gloria in 4-player outside of that one standalone scenario we all did, which was my first time playing that scenario, which was admittedly very, very dumb. I'll be interested to see if she hits a critical mass where basically you will, with the cards in your deck, basically always know what the encounter deck is about to do to you. Because in 4-player, I mean, we know how powerful that is in 1-player, but the ability to do that in 4-player, I imagine, gets pretty intense.
What I found with Gloria too, and it seems really weird, but you spend these actions and all this time scrying the encounter deck, but like, and then my brain goes, well, those are all actions you could be using to find clues or fight things or whatever, you know, like actually progress the game. But when you're playing in multiplayer with her, you are making the Mythos phase so soft on the other players that their actions become more valuable, like, and their turns, like, you are essentially the power in your actions is being transferred to them, right? Like, you're letting the Seeker take this really simple intellect test on a card, and they are just unhindered for multiple Mythos phases. You're giving the Guardian something to do, right? Like, you give them the enemy.
Because they need it.
Well, you give them the enemy right when they, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm all set up, I got my guns out, like, you know, and I don't have to waste a turn moving over or engaging or something like that, right? Like, you
Right.
just,
Yeah, you're making it more efficient for them to do the thing that they're already set up to do most efficiently.
yeah. So yes, you're losing the actions of Gloria as a player, but you're getting the power of those actions back in other players, is how I see Gloria. I just wanted to
It's a very groovy type of support, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gloria's stories must be terrible because there's no conflict, there's no tension. It's everything happens exactly in the best possible way. Like, God, I'd hate to read her books.
Yeah.
You know what I wouldn't hate to read, though? Is an astronomical atlas.
Do you read an atlas?
I mean, yes, I'm going to go with.
Okay.
Fast and loose with the term read, but okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's me, right?
Yep.
Sure, take it.
So I will read it. Astronomical Atlas is a level 3 mystic asset. It is 3 cost. It has a willpower and 2 intellect icons. It is item and tome traded, still not a spell.
Some
Free,
Some
free,
clown.
Free triggered ability. Exhaust Astronomical Atlas. Look at the top card of your deck. If it is not a weakness, attach it face down to Astronomical Atlas. Max 5. And then free triggered ability. Commit a card attached to Astronomical Atlas to an eligible skill test, and if that test succeeds, add that card to your hand instead of discarding it. Limit once per test. That second ability doesn't exhaust the Atlas, which I feel is pretty important, and this takes up a hand slot. So this is a really cool, like, funnely way of doing like draw and skill, like funnel, like, you know, I think something you would
like an actual funnel.
Yeah,
okay,
no, it's
gotcha.
It's funnel-tastic.
It's the Mystic version of practice makes perfect, but
yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Casey had this in his Norman deck when we played Carnival, and it bonkers good.
Yeah.
Like, this is so good.
Yes, okay, there it is, Big Kahuna. It's Crystallizer of Dreams, but in reverse, which is exactly what you want out of Crystallizer of Dreams.
Yeah.
And without the weakness that you're shuffling into your deck.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I really like this. I know there's one Norman build out there on ArkhamDB that's been it's been on the top page for a good long while. That looks really fun. But the idea that, you know, Norman can see the top card, trigger this very deliberately. Mm-hmm. I think even outside of a deck where you know what the top card of your deck is, as long as you're pretty conscious of your skill icon spread, you can do this blindly pretty reliably.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
I mean, and if you pass the test, you're drawing that card, right? Like, it's,
yeah.
You know who actually this would be really interesting in is Diana with Well Prepared. Because you could investigate at 5.
That's not bad.
Wait, what's the significance of well prepared?
Because the icons are good.
Double icons on the Atlas.
Oh.
I was just saying like that.
On the Atlas?
Yeah. It's got willpower and 2 intellect. And so you use well prepared in Diana to boost
okay, all right, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why would committing well prepared trigger the Atlas?
No, using well prepared as intended.
Yes, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I mean, yeah, but that okay, yeah, yes, I agree. Well prepared is a good card.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel that this is an accurate statement that if this is a card you have in your hand slot, chances are the icons you're going to be looking for to use this ability are like willpower and intellect primarily?
I mean, sure.
Yeah, like, I mean,
most likely.
Who's going to take this? Like,
also,
Norman.
Yeah.
Like, Norman's the big target, right? Because you can, like, curate the top of his deck.
Mm-hmm.
And he only uses intellect and willpower, right? Trying to think.
It's a good way to get double use out of deduction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, like, maybe you just go... Maybe this is Luke. And you just have a bunch of seeker skills.
That's interesting.
Like perceptions, deductions.
Yeah. Funny thing is, this is another tome that Daisy does not necessarily get any special use out of.
Normal Daisy can't take it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Parallel Daisy can, but I would agree with you that I mean maybe.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what Parallel Daisy does.
She's got gimped stats, and she just gets a static willpower and sanity boost for each tome she holds.
Oh.
The way I like to play Parallel Daisy is parallel back, normal front.
Yeah, there you go. And this wouldn't necessarily help Daisy any more than, you know, anyone else.
Help you find your other tomes, you know, like, and then you commit them to a test to get them into your hand. It's essentially card draw, right, with some stat boosting. But
it is, and as long as you're paying attention to the skills that you're going to be using, i.e., I think I would argue intellect and willpower primarily. Mm-hmm. You could cycle a deck pretty quickly. This is essentially it's free draw with extra steps, but it's still free draw.
Well, and especially if you're using this like a Norman or who else was I saying? Luke.
Luke, yeah.
Yeah, if you get Is Gloria 0 to 2 Seeker? No, she's 0 to 1 events and skills or something, right?
Yeah, she's
Seeker?
0 to 1 Guardian, Rogue, or Seeker.
Right. But if you can get like level 2 Perception, it tucks it under this, and you'll like commit level 2 Perception, draw 2 cards. It goes to your hand, which is drawing a card, and then you use it again. Like, yeah, this can, in combination with cards, yeah, it's quite a lot of card draw. You're gonna cycle quick. Also, you get to scry the top of your deck every turn. So maybe this is a Lola card, right?
And that's true. Like, if you look at the top card of your deck and it is a weakness, then it's just there and you know about it. Which is itself
Because then you can
somewhat
prep
useful.
for Crisis of Fate or Crisis of Identity.
Ugh, yeah, you can.
But you gotta be on. So wait. If you're Lola, what role do you have to be to use the second ability on this?
Oh, commit a card.
I don't think you can, because you can't
Yeah,
commit
you'd
off roll, and you can't
have to
trigger the
be-
free action. It'd
Oh,
have to be
I
a
see what you're
mystic
saying.
or a neutral skill.
Yeah, never mind. Okay, I take it all back.
Ouch. God, Lola, I love you, but damn it.
You're holding
No.
yourself back.
I'm very glad that we have the core set parallel investigators done. Max, MJ, please, parallel Lola. That's all I want.
Those are some healing words, Sean.
That's all. All right, go.
Healing my soul. Healing words.
Yep.
I'm gonna read it. 2 cost, level 3, mystic asset. 2 willpower icons. Hey, Sean, you got your spell trait. Yeah. Too bad it's a polished turd. Uses 4 charges. Actions: spend a charge, heal 2 damage from among investigators at your location. It takes up the arcane slot. This
Who's
is
spending 3 experience on this?
I have no idea.
Okay,
Who
look,
are you? Who was doing that? Because you're playing Arkham wrong.
It
I mean,
bears mentioning that it is a glow up from level 0 because,
Yes.
as
Oh
we
my
talked
God.
about with a lot of other healing cards, From Among
Yeah.
is good. From Among allies is better. From Among investigators and allies is obviously better. But From Among is good because it gives you some flexibility there. I mean, oh God, 3 experience is still a lot for this.
So terrible.
Yeah. I will.
And here's the
I'm
thing: here's the
willing to
biggest
bet.
sin is it still costs a hard action.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
At 3 XP,
Yep.
this needs to be a free triggered action, and then I will look at it. Like that was always the worst part of level 0 was the hard
Yes.
action.
Yep.
So,
Healing
what's the
cannot
rogue
be
card
this
where
slow.
you? What's the rogue card where you make a promise? Is it Geish?
Gaze.
Geish, yep.
I am willing to make a bet or
no.
a promise that I will never, ever, ever play this card.
I mean, I won't. Yeah, I'm not dumb enough to take that bet.
Well, the bet is like anytime anyone catches Scott using this card, he has to immediately add 10 curse tokens to his chaos bag.
Yeah, you know what? Deal.
I mean, that's the Geish promise, right?
Yep.
That's the Geish way.
Yeah, it's just... Yeah. Healing is such a weird thing in this game.
It is.
It needs to be so strong, otherwise it's so useless.
Yep. And it's very specific. Like, for me, it's like, okay, I'm playing Mark. I need to have some healing in there. Because I'm gonna take damage. Because I want to, right?
Well,
And so
yeah,
I
yeah,
play,
yeah.
like, Emergency Aid or something, which is 2 cost, 2 damage. And usually, like, 2 copies of that, that's enough, right? Like, that's enough to get me through the game. And I have the soaks and stuff. But, like, soak is just... You know what? It's kind of like the skills, Sean, where healing is just bonus stats, whereas soak is like you have an ally that has soak, but also they're doing something,
Yeah.
right?
Ooh, good analogy. That hits hard.
And the soaks that aren't doing something else, like Leather Coat or Cherished Keepsake, they're 0 cost, right? They're dirt cheap, and you're totally okay putting them in there. Like, yeah. And soak is just so good in this game that healing has to be bonkers good to compete with it.
Especially in a post-mirror world, because Soothing Melody is a very, very good healing card.
Sure.
Well, an upgraded mirror, right? Like,
Oh,
well,
God, yeah.
but the beauty here's the real beauty of Soothing Melody is that it doesn't take up deck space when you're building your
Yeah.
deck. You don't have. It takes one card, and then boom, you got access to 3 healing cards, and you
Yeah.
didn't have to budget that when you were building
healing
the deck.
cards that cantrip, right?
Yes.
Like,
and that
Yeah.
are from among investigators and allies,
yeah.
and damage and horror.
Gosh.
Yeah.
The fact that the mirror that's level 0, right?
Yep.
That
Sure is.
Bust. That's an oversight.
I mean, it is limit 1 per
Probably.
deck, but
But at the same time, like, yeah, healing's good when you need it, but it also doesn't like directly help you win the game.
No. That's why it has
So-
to do something else. That's why, like I'm saying, you have
Yeah,
to. It has to
exactly.
do more than just heal. Especially if it's eating your action.
And
So-
an arcane slot in Mystic.
Yeah, but
Kaboy!
arcane slots are like candy now. They're everywhere. You can get an ally with arcane slots. You can get a hand item with arcane slots. You can get a stick with an arcane slot.
Can you get more play actions?
No, see, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a bottleneck somewhere, no matter which
Yep.
way you look.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, healing is an active thing. Soak is a passive thing.
Yeah,
Right,
you don't have
like-
to think about it.
And layering up passive things is one way to win Arkham, right? Like, when you have a bunch of passive stat boost and passive abilities that just happen and trigger and they don't take actions, when you get a critical mass of that, that's when, like, your deck is online, you're running through this scenario, and the game has a hard time catching up to you.
You're running on the strength of resources that don't need upkeep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, sorry, healing words. More like healing turds, am I right?
I'm feeling much more grounded after that conversation.
Nick.
Grounded is a level 3 mystic asset that costs 0 resources, has 2 wild icons, because we got to put something good on the card. It's fast, limit 1 composure, talent and composure traded. Fast, limit 1 composure in play. You get +1 skill value during skill tests on spell cards. Non-direct damage and horror must be assigned to grounded before it can be assigned to your investigator card. Free action, free triggered action, free triggered ability. During a skill test on a spell card, spend 1 resource. You get +1 skill value for this test. And it can soak, like we were talking about, 2 damage and 2 horror.
I love how much brain power it took up for you not to say Zappy Boy.
I like this one better than level 0 for sure, because level 0 is
Level 1?
level 1, sorry, yep, because that one is, in my opinion, a bad card. This one being 0 cost, fast, you get the automatic +1 to any skill, which is probably going to be will, but sometimes not. But any skill you're doing on a spell test is awesome. And it has better soak. But I still, like, am I wrong in saying that this is still the weakest of even the leveled up versions of these, of the Composure suite?
I don't know, actually, because to me, this, like, the other composures, they give you a stat boost.
They
Two
give you
stat
2.
boosts. Yeah. But I feel like this one, because it hits every single active action you're going to be testing, right? It's not like if you have an all-rounder investigator, you might, if one of the composures gives you agility and intellect, it's like, well, you might be basing yourself on intellect and combat or whatever. But a mystic is always going to be, if it's a well-rounded mystic, is always going to be focusing stuff through spells, right?
Right. But
So
how many spells are there that test things other than will?
very few.
To
None.
you know what I mean? To make use
Yeah.
of what I would argue is probably like the core reason to run this card, which is that it can hit every skill when you need it for a spell.
Yeah.
Question, on the spells like Spectral Razor and Read the Signs, does it stack with both skill values?
You get +1 skill value during skill
Because
test.
in those ones, you're technically using the normal skill for like fight or investigate.
I think it's
but
just giving you +1 skill value, so it's just like a a wild icon towards that, right? So you have your
Okay.
willpower,
Yeah.
you're adding, or your combat, you're adding your willpower and adding one skill value.
Yeah.
as
Okay.
well.
Yep. The skill value being in question is the one that's just being tested.
Yeah, it's a blobby one skill value.
All right. Well, I mean, not like those cards really needed it. You're still swinging at like 8 or 9
Exactly.
for most of
Yeah,
those skill
yeah.
tests, but just wanted to check.
Again, Diana with well prepared. Hey, those wild icons.
Yes, I agree. Well prepared is a good card.
So now, most of the other composures, the upgraded ones, had a 3-in-1 on
Yep.
the health and sanity, which I feel like does create a little bit more tension with most of them. Do you feel like the 2-in-2 is going to just keep this around any significant time longer than your average composure?
Makes me feel better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the 2-in-2 better than the 3-in-1. Especially, wasn't it the rogue one that had one
health, one
horror
sanity.
and 3? And it's like, what? Like, what kind? Who did what? No. So yeah, I do like the 2-2 better than the other options that we've seen.
Yeah.
Fast is nice. Zero cost is nice. That soak is pretty good. And the +1 skill value isn't. That's my thing. Is like it's not bad, but it is 3 experience.
Yeah.
And
So my
there's-
question.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's just a lot of other stuff you can spend 3 experience on and probably feel just as good, if not better, about.
Yeah. So there's a card we haven't talked about yet that might usurp what this is doing. The soak is good. Like, as we were just talking about, fast 2-2 soak. Like, we talk
Yeah.
about
That's
how back in the day for Seekers, like, you would just play Malison just because he was a 1-drop 2-2 soak. And then,
Still
yeah,
do.
maybe he had an ability you would use. So, like, we can't
Yep.
discount that. That is really good. But if you're playing this primarily for the stat boost, how many situations do you think you wouldn't want to just, like, pay the 1 extra experience and grab upgraded arcane studies?
I can't think of many. I can't think of any. Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a spell that uses an ability that uses a skill other than will.
I mean, you could combo it with, like, Empower Self, which allows you to ignore the willpower skill replacement.
That's such a weird.
I agree, and it's a lot of XP to get there, and I don't know why
Yeah.
you would, but you could.
Voltglass in chat mentions Radiant Smite and Ryastrad.
Rheastrad?
Oh, sure.
Don't
Sure.
use willpower, but
Both
few and far
off
between.
class. Yeah. Like who can take both this and those?
yeah.
Not a lot. Not a lot of people. Lola.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
I think this is fine. I think it.
Yeah, it's not
you're-
bad. Like I said, it's better than the level 1, which was
Yeah.
not great.
I think I'm gonna see if I can figure out a deck that this would be best positioned in, and see if my, I don't know. I want to like it more than I do.
Agnes.
Yeah, sure, maybe.
Just because of the soak, and then you can
I was
get.
thinking of Diana, honestly. Again,
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I think Diana a lot.
get to 6 willpower really quick, and then this is essentially making you 7.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple upgraded spells, you're swinging at like 9 willpower before you pay money or commit anything.
It is really nice that these don't take up any slots. Like, you know what I mean? Like getting so you can get a static boost off of a slotless asset. That's pretty nice.
And
Yeah.
fast, like
Yeah.
that before you even get to the real gameplay ability is not anything to sneeze at
Right.
for any of these, really. All right, anyway, let's move on to True Magic. Oh, is this one me? I love this one.
Sure.
Yeah.
So True Magic is a level 5 Mystic asset. It is 4 cost, reworking reality. It has 2 willpower icons and a wild icon. It is item, relic, and tome traded. Uses 1 charge. Replenish this charge at the start of each round. You may resolve abilities on spell assets in your hand by revealing them from your hand. Treat True Magic as if it were the revealed asset. So that includes paying its costs, spending charges, and performing its effect. This takes up an arcane slot and a hand slot. So this like so harkens to me of like Hearthstone.
This is amazing.
Where like you've got a card in your hand that morphs into a different spell every turn. Except this is not a different spell every turn. It is any spell from your hand. Like that's so cool.
It's like, hey, do you want to use Shriveling but not have to play Shriveling?
Mm-hmm.
You finally got a Mystic card with a spell trait on it.
That's the second one. We had Healing Words.
Yeah.
I
It's
mean,
just
it
in the wrong part of the card, but
I was about to say
there.
it refers to the spell.
Oh yeah.
Trait.
Remember spells, guys. Remember.
Mystic is so hard up. Come on, come on, MJ and Jeremy. What are you doing?
Chaos fan. He's right to a nice anti-Dexter card. Keeping yourself.
Yep. Don't take this in Dexter. You're gonna have a bad time.
Mm-hmm.
I actually think that fight spells are probably the weakest place for use of this. I feel like you keep this in your hand and a fight spell in an actual arcane slot. But to get a free charge off of, like, I don't know, Rite of Seeking or a Clairvoyance or a Scrying or a Mists.
I mean, Scrying's pretty cheap, but it saves you having to play it.
Right, having to have played it, you just plop this down and then like draw spells the rest of your like. This is a solution for that constant mystic problem of just having a dearth of play actions to get all your stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. This is the Mystic Ever Vigilant. It just costs 5 experience and 4 resources, but you can refill it and you have it when you need. You know what I mean? So
well, I also like what you're saying too. I think it was Nick saying like the scrying part. And the thing is, if you're playing solo or 2-player, and let's say Gloria, you have this out, and you're scrying, you're looking 2 turns in advance, right? So that scrying spell, you only need it once every 2 turns. So that means this can be a different spell on those off turns, like as you layer that in, right?
And as long as you don't need the charge for anything else, this is essentially a free charge every turn because it refills itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And if you're in a place where you need a lot of charges in one turn for like a fight or something like that, or you need to go ham on a location to get clues, there are ways to put extra charges on cards.
Oh, yeah.
Winds of Power. In this
no, that only places it on a spell, I think. Right?
No, that's asset. Because I said you could do it on a gate box.
Wonderful. Love that.
If you're investigating, use Enraptured.
I like Enraptured.
Oh no, is Enraptured
it's Enraptured. No, it's. Is it secrets?
No, it's secrets or charges. It's both.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 1 charge or secret.
Yeah, I do like Enraptured.
Can we get an upgraded Raptured?
This is what I'm telling you guys. Like, I love me a Mystic who can lean both into willpower and intellect. That is generally best Mystic.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things available to a Mystic who can do that.
Chaos Fan actually building on the scrying and Gloria in 4-player. This gives you unlimited scrying, so you can scry every single turn.
Yeah, and if you're doing it fast, then the only cost is if you're seeing omens and terrors. Really good.
It is 5 XP though. Like this is
that's true. 5 XP, 4 cost, 2 slots.
But it's worth
Big ass.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's the sort of thing you really need to build your deck around. So I'm just trying to think. So Parallel Daisy. Does Ursula Relic access go up to 5 or does it stop at 4?
4, I believe.
Okay, so she wouldn't be able to take. I'm just thinking of like weird off-class mystics who would be able to take this. I think Parallel Daisy is the only one. She goes up to Tome 5, right?
I think so. Or does she stop at Tome 4? I can't remember.
She's the librarian. If she doesn't get Tome 5, I don't know what we're doing anymore.
If she doesn't get it, then nobody gets it. Like, no other investigator better come out with.
How would you have access to it? It's locked in the library.
Yeah.
Maybe the books are on short supply.
Perhaps. Scott, finish this out.
All right. Short supply, null costed survivor asset. Talent traded, permanent, limit 1 per deck, purchase at deck creation, forced when you first run, or when your first turn of the game begins, discard the top 10 cards of your deck. You can only pray that it's enough.
I like how this card is just emergency cash, but also ferns.
Yes. I have tinkered around with this card a bit. I think there is with those, was it like winging it and stuff? The survivor events you can play on the discard. There's a cool idea there. One place I actually put this was in my, was it Forced Learning, the Seeker version?
Mm-hmm.
The Ashcan Pete Yowdle deck with Forced Learning and then this.
Desperate Duke?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, so yeah, that's what I was thinking too when I saw this card. I've always just been scared to put it in a deck because then it's like, well, what if I lose all the stuff I need?
Yeah.
What if Yowdle ends up in there?
Well, that's the thing though. So I was like, well, what if he does? So then I put in Resourcefuls, and then I put in was it Close Call?
Yowdle's one experience though. You can't resourceful him.
You can. He's a survivor.
Is he?
Yeah.
It's Scrounge that's limited to level 0.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also put Scrounge in this. I also put Scrounge in this deck to grab the Resourceful in case both of them go in there too.
If you're gonna recur, then go all out, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or you could just be Yorick.
Yeah.
Or you could just be Yorick. Yep, that's an option too.
So,
like this is such a cool boon, such a cool shot in the arm for a survivor discard scrounging deck. Like there's so many different ways to play with cards in your discard pile, and this just puts a ton there.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are so many decks that I will throw in winging it, or like occasionally impromptu barrier. I don't go in for improvised weapon very often. But like you're looking for an excuse to play it, or like to get up to your hand size so you can discard it and get it in your discard pile before you bother actually looking at playing it. But just if it starts the game there and you just get things rolling right away, and also the few times where I've played this, just being able to hit a weakness out of the gate is not a terrible thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep.
It turns those games where you would have drawn a weakness in your first 3 or 4 turns, and yeah.
And then makes sure that the 11th card is weakness. Therefore, your first one, yeah.
Pro tip: would not recommend in Dunwich though. Pro tip.
Yeah.
That's hard mode. That's what is it? Nightmare.
How about Patrice and
it was
with
just
this?
Yep, like
In
so
Dunwich.
good in Patrice. So good. Well, okay, yeah, in Dunwich, that's like living on the edge, but like good in Patrice in general, because the first time you draw an Elder Sign, then like it didn't even matter that you started with a big discard pile.
Yeah.
Like you play with it until you don't want to, and then you shuffle it all back in.
Yeah. Nick, I have a new achievement for you.
What's up?
Play Patrice solo with this through Dunwich, and just I don't know, win.
And just finish. Just finish the last scenario. That's what it is.
Cross the finish line. Yeah.
And we'll call the achievement speed run any %.
Yeah. There you
That's
go.
right. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
No thanks.
Really cool.
I mean, actually, it does sound really fun, but
And doomed is your basic weakness.
oh, fuck off.
Best of luck.
If I pull Doomed with Patrice, it's just like I forfeit the campaign. Let's try again.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool card. Really, really cool card. Anything that wants to set up stuff in your discard pile, this is... I feel like a lot of people's reticence in taking this is, Nick, exactly what you said. Like, what if it grabs something that I wanted?
Yeah.
And that may happen, but I feel like if you've built your deck properly to work with this, you're going to still get more benefit out of starting with a sizable discard pile to play with, rather than having to build one.
Probably.
Yeah. I after playing my Desperate Duke Yowdle thing, I took this out. Like, I took it away. Because I didn't want... I found it was just, if Yowdle started in the discard pile, to get him back
Too much
out,
uphill, yeah.
Yeah, and like then I have to find recursion, and then I have to actually successfully recursion, and yeah.
Because recursion is best when you're like at the buffet line and you get to pick your favorite, entree, not when you have to use it to get the linchpin of your deck back out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got like 1 or 2 cards that you need for your deck, there will be a lot of sad games with short supply in your future.
Yeah.
When the name of the card is in the title of the deck, you do not want to use this.
No.
Yeah.
Probably
Yaddle.
not.
Right.
Desperate Yaddle Duke. Yeah. All right.
All right, fantastic. Well, I think that we'll leave it there and whet everyone's appetite to dive into red cards next time.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Oh God, this expansion is so fun, and it's been out for a while, and I've played with a decent amount of it. But as we continue these discussions, I continue to find more and more things that intrigue me about the cards that were released.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Quick aside, how are you guys feeling as players, as content producers about the new release format? How's it hitting you so far?
It's okay, but I'm a little worried in the next coming months, like that. The fervor that normally accompanies this game is going to decrease a bit. I'm not sure it will, but I'm a bit concerned.
Sure.
I think I still love this format on paper, or not on paper, but I think I still prefer this format over the monthly.
On cardstock, maybe.
Yeah, on cardstock. Yeah. I prefer this format sleeved. But I think that getting the campaign all at once and finishing a campaign of this has played into my Arkham drought that I've had recently. I've never been like how you are, Sean, and how I don't know if you are specifically, but definitely how Ian is, where when a new scenario for a campaign comes out, he plays it in like 4 different campaigns. It's like, all right, now I gotta take this campaign through. Now I gotta take this campaign through. I've never done that. But like, and I thought I would. I thought I'd be like, yeah, finish one Edge of the Earth, and now I can start my other campaign right away if I want to. But I haven't. Like, it hasn't really. I feel like I still need to put time between me and the campaign, I guess. Maybe DV had something to do with that too, reading all the campaign text and just being like, fuck off.
I mean, yeah, for us, the podcast production stuff does encroach on what would otherwise be Arkham time, so that's the thing.
But I think overall, I still would prefer to get everything at once rather than wait for the drip feed. I think.
It is much more convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I'm generally with you. As far as like the experience of the campaign goes, I love it.
Yes.
Having it all at once is great, so I can play through it on my own speed. I think the fact that the devs are no longer tied to the drip feed means they can do things like they did with Edge of the Earth, and like it doesn't have to be the exact same format of scenarios in each campaign, which is great. Because I mean, I love the fact that Edge of the Earth could be a 4 scenario campaign, kind of technically. And that's really cool. So I like the flexibility that's offered there. I mean, I guess I'm personally, when we got the player cards, was flooded with new cards.
Yeah.
I obviously saw a few that I wanted to pick out and try first.
Yep.
But it has been kind of a process of like going back again and rediscovering and seeing new things. Like it's sustaining me longer than I thought it would. So like, you know, Scott, kind of like what you were talking about, like we had this initial burst of excitement and enjoyment, and then would die off. And maybe a lot of people are there, but for me, it's been more like, all right, well, I'm going to focus on this little bit for now, and then I finish the campaign or the decks. And now, oh, this seems cool. Let's do that. And like every time I go back to the box again and look at the new cards in it, something else sticks out at me.
Right.
So I'll be interested to see what those legs look like in the long run. Anyway, guys, let's round it out with a little bit of technical time. Scott, tell everyone about your world master level chess game
Well,
thing.
I already had the link ready to go for chat. But so
I totally
I played,
called your tentacle time.
yeah, I played a chess game that is probably going to be the. Okay, this takes a little explanation. There's a measure of what in chess called accuracy, how accurate your moves are, and that's based on computer engines. Computers are now way stronger than humans. Like Magnus Carlsen, if you put like an app on my phone on the hardest setting, will beat the world champion in chess. Like it just, they're beyond us now. So I played this game, and my average accuracy in the game was 99.7%. So it's like almost as close to perfect as you could ever play a game. I won, and it was like, I don't know. It's an awesome accomplishment to get, and yeah, probably won't ever happen again. Like even years down the road when I get better, this game just came together for me, so that was awesome. I'm also though playing Star Wars Risk with my son.
Oh, nice.
And the thing is though, it's not Risk. Like there's still
Star
dice.
Wars Risk.
Yeah, there's still dice, but it's like there's multiple. It's also card-based turns, and like you put down your cards face down, like in a stack of 3, and then you reveal them one by one, and those are your orders and what happens. So you have 3 different types of ships, and you're flying around this like Death Star, and you have the Millennium Falcon as well. You have X-wings, B-wings, and Y-wings, and you can activate them and move them from different sectors. And it's essentially the ending of Return of the Jedi. Nice. You're trying to blow up the Death Star, but you also have Luke and Vader.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. You also have Luke and Vader dueling, so you have to like swing your lightsaber a couple times to try and like hit Vader. You can also quote cross him to the light side, which gives you bonuses.
So this is no,
like bring it before me.
No, what this is, well,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but what
Oh,
it
God.
is actually, Scott, is it is a remake of the Queen's Gambit, which is the
yeah.
single best thing that came out of Episode 1.
Yes. Yeah, so, and then you also have, like, the Endor bunker. Like, you have to get through the forest and blow up the bunker by rolling dice, and then the opponent can put stormtroopers in your way, and that slows you down. And eventually, like, it is just such a cool game, and I bought it for $5, like, used.
Wow.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen it. And I saw it once at FFG, like, a dad and his kid were playing it, and I was just like, oh, can I, like, just watch you for a minute? And Dad's like, yeah, it's, like, great for kids and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I should keep my eye out for it. So anyways, it's super fun. Maura and I are going to play it because, like, when you have 2 gamer people who are adults playing it, like, it seems like basically, like, Roll Through the Ages and, like, roll through all the games that are, like, roll through the whatever. This feels like roll through the Star Wars Rebellion. So, yeah.
That sounds very in line with my interests.
Yeah, honestly, you could probably find it at Walmart for like $5, $10.
But yeah, Queen's Gambit was considered for the longest
Yeah.
time to be the best Star Wars board game out there.
I think it's still like up there.
I'm sure there's a
like-
lot of people who still think that. I mean, to me, and I know we've talked about it before, and I don't mean to hijack your tentacle time, so I'll just be quick.
I'm done. So.
To me, Rebellion is still like that's Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Oh God, yeah.
Like that's what I
still
want
need
from
to
a Star
play
Wars
that.
game. Me too. I
Oh,
really
Sean.
want to.
Sean, we're gonna play.
Okay.
Yeah, it's number
Okay.
8 on
So-
the BGG of all time list. By the way,
Really? It's that high? Damn.
Rebellion is nice.
it is my favorite board game of it all time.
Shit, I need to get around to that.
I don't include
I've been
Arkham in that,
eyeing
by the
it
way.
forever.
Yeah, and the expansion just makes it awesome too.
Well, it's because Arkham's a card game, first of all.
Yeah, exactly. It's a card game.
Sean,
Yeah,
I feel
doesn't
like you're further in the camp of the dueling stuff for the Star Wars.
I mean, it kind of depends.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I do like a good board game with board presence, but yeah, I like what I get out of the Star Wars stuff. I tend to enjoy like the Jedi duels and shit more so than like the,
Fleet
the
stuff.
military intrigue.
Yeah.
But it's like pizza. Like even bad Star
Yeah.
Wars is still pretty okay.
Well,
It's still pretty okay.
Yeah, it entertains me while I eat my popcorn. So
Like it's bad Star Wars, but it's still pretty okay.
yeah, except for Jedi Order. No, what was the Souls-like Star Wars game?
Oh, see, I like
Fallen
Fallen
Order.
Order, but I also am like I'm a Souls
Yeah.
person, so.
I saw the Fallen Order. They're making a Fallen Order 2, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a game that came out.
Scott, I'm not trying to convince you to get back into the game by any means, but I am sad because there's one scene that happens very close to the end of the game that I think you would have loved, and I'm sad that I won't get to like hear you geek out about it after the fact.
Is it a video?
Sorry,
is it a cutscene?
you could find it in a video, yeah. Well, it kind of it's more or less a cutscene, but it does also play into like what you're doing at the time and whatnot. But yeah,
It's a chess game.
Yep.
Yeah, space chess.
Dejaric
Fallen
is
Order
what we
chess.
call that.
Yeah.
Nick, how about you?
Well, last episode rather, we don't do this weekly, we're not crazy. I talked about our D&D stream, which is every Tuesday night. That is weekly because we're crazy. So you should come and watch that every Tuesday night on twitch.tv/Nicholas Corey. It's myself, Max, and then other people you probably know them from Discord here. Case, Dave, Josh, Justin, and Ian. Oh, Ian, of course, Ian. He's there too. And we have a lot of fun. We're still pretty early in the campaign. This will be session 4 this coming Tuesday, so you didn't miss a lot. And if you want to catch up on what you did miss, that's all on YouTube. You can find everything there on my channel on YouTube. So definitely come and hang out with us and chat. But what I will, the other thing that I want to talk about for Tentacle Time is I've gotten back into listening to audiobooks. I kind of slid away from it during Amadeus when that was going on because I was using my listening time to listen to my own voice reading my lines. I recorded that, and that's a great way to learn lines. But then Amadeus got canceled due to COVID, and I still had like about 3 weeks of this like phantom obligation of like I can't listen to audiobooks because I need to spend that time listening to my lines. But Amadeus got canceled, but I still had this like there was an effort that I needed to make to get over that. But anyway, I just listened to and finished the book The Darkling Sea, which is I've been on a really strong like sci-fi first contact kick, like humans contacting or coming into contact with alien species and like those kind of stories. The Darkling Sea is the most recent in a long line of books that I've been listening to on that subject matter. And this one's really cool because it's humans contacting an alien species they've never contacted, like the first contact, but there's also a third species that they've been in contact with for generations, it sounds like, or at least decades. But it's by James L. Cambius, and it's really good. It's really, really good. It's really fun to see how this author envisions 3 different cultures, and I'm including humans in that as well, but like totally different alien cultures, how different they are from one another, and also the ways that they intersect and kind of come into play with one another as well. So if you're into sci-fi books, I would definitely recommend. And a cool thing about the audiobook, which this is the first audiobook I've really run into this, is that it's one narrator, and he changes his voice a little bit for when people are speaking. But I didn't realize this until I was like a third of the way through the book. When the POV changes, when the character whose point of view it is changes, he narrates in that character's voice. He narrates the PO, like the non-dialogue text.
Damn, that's
which
a level above.
It's yeah, it was really like it. Again, I didn't realize it till later when there's like when you're getting on like your 5th POV character, but then you're like, oh yeah, like it's actually a really cool little thing that he did. So anyway, A Darkling Sea, great book. And I would love to talk about some of the other ones that I've read as well, but they're kind of further back. I can't remember if I talked about them before, and this Tentacle Time's getting kind of long. So Sean, what have you been doing?
Tell me more about your long tentacle, Nick. For me, unfortunately, I haven't had as much time to game outside of Arkham recently as I would have liked. I have finished. I'm doing kind of a co-play with a friend through the Dark Souls series, and we finished the core game of DS2 today in anticipation of Elden Ring dropping next week, and that's pretty much going to be my tentacle time for probably the next few months. So get ready. Get ready. But beyond that, I kind of had like this weird in and out relationship with Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Odyssey's
So
the Greek one?
Yeah. So I hadn't really played an Assassin's Creed game since 3. I played everything up to that point, but then after 3, I was like, kind of getting a little stale. The ship battles are fun, and then I completely missed the boat on 4 because I heard Black Sails was very fun. But anyway, tried to get into Odyssey. I think I might have mentioned it on the podcast a little while back, like maybe even a couple of years ago. It didn't grab me initially, so I uninstalled it. And then after a certain point, I'm like, all right, you know what? It's Greek mythology, which is like one of my favorite mythologies. I gotta get into this because. And like some of the cover art and expansions really strongly indicate that you get hard into like actual mythology stuff,
Right?
Because that's always been kind of the fun part of the Assassin's Creed series. Is it's like on one face it's very like supposed to be historically accurate and really feel like it's shooting you back into these various historical periods, but on the other side it's got like these high end like sci-fi / fantasy elements. And I thought that we were going to actually get into like Assassin's Creed universe type Greek mythology. And, you know, it looks to like some extent we do. But yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know what my fucking expectation was that like Zeus was going to like at some point during the game like break down the wall like the fucking Kool-Aid man. And then we'd like fly off on Pegasus and just go into doing God of War things. But at a certain point, I kind of realized, like, okay, this doesn't seem to actually have any supernatural elements. And it turns out that the main game itself more or less doesn't, but then the expansions kind of get into it. And it was around that time that, you know, the open world kind of continued to kind of throw the same types of challenges in front of me. And I had figured it out. And it was just, I really enjoyed my time with it, but I got bored, essentially. Well before the story was over and like before I'm going to get to the actual mythological pieces that I had been waiting for. So it's the first time in a very long time, which is why I'm kind of mentioning it, that I uninstalled a game before finishing it and was like, you know what? I didn't finish this game, but I think I got what I needed out of it. I don't do that very often. Normally I really make myself power through to the end of most games I start.
Interesting.
So we'll see if I get back to it. I don't know. I did get the ability to make pets out of big-ass grizzly bears. But also their attacks come out so slow that the lions end up being better anyway. I don't know. There's a weird metagame that I'm sure we could discuss with Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Are we still talking about Odyssey?
Yep. We are.
Yeah, what I heard about that game was that, like you said, the main story itself is pretty historically adjacent, I guess would be a good word for it. But
Sure.
there's like, I did hear that, and I may be misremembering it because that game isn't new. But I feel like I remember hearing on a podcast where he's like, yeah, I just found out that like I can sail to this island and there's a Medusa on that island. You know, like that kind of stuff. Like it's hidden, you know what I mean? Like you have to go find it. And I could be totally off base because I'm literally just going off of a conversation that came out when the game was brand new, you know what I mean? So
Oh, well, I mean, maybe there's more information that's yet out there for me.
yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to it and get a little bit farther. As it stands, though, Elden Ring comes out next Friday, and not only does my like actual real life schedule need space for it, but my hard drive needed space for it. So it was time to hit the pause button on Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But I had a good time with it in my time there. This last time that I hopped on, it really did kind of hook me, and it has some cool stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I really, really want, though?
What?
Is I want a return to the Prince of Persia series.
Oh, everybody does.
I know, like I have so many thoughts. But Assassin's Creed was kind of the spiritual successor to Prince of Persia, but it's gone so far from like that path at this point. I think there's a remaster of Sands of Time like in the offing, right? I was one of 12 people who enjoyed the Prince of Persia reboot, where they went with like the cell shading, and they had like Nolan North played the lead character like in every video game.
At that time,
yeah. I really liked that, and it ended decidedly on a cliffhanger. So I've been waiting for a fucking sequel to that game for over 10 years, and I would really like to get it at some point. But either way, whether we go back to more like Sands of Time stuff or whether we go in that more fantastical direction, I really would like a more Prince of Persia in my life.
It's that is Ubisoft, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's if there's a document for Prince of Persia anywhere, it's been turned into Assassin's Creed already. Like I don't think you're gonna. I would be very surprised if we saw anything, even a remake of Prince of Persia at this point.
I want it though,
which is very sad. Like I would love to see that series come back. I really would.
Did you play through the full Sands of Time trilogy?
Not the trilogy. I played 1 and I beat 1 and I played like a couple hours into 2. And boy, was 2 like
2 was a mood.
2 really felt like it was the board of old white men executives. Like, you know what the kids like? Electric guitar and metal thongs
and ass cheeks.
Yeah,
they're right. They're right about that one.
I was in that stage of my life when that came out, but there's part of me that's still in that stage of my life. So.
Yeah, but okay, look, let's be real. I'm 35. I love ass cheeks, but I do like to have to work for ass cheeks a little bit.
Yeah.
There's something about free ass cheeks they're just not quite as appealing.
You look at it as you give you a side eye on that. Free ass cheeks, and you're like,
I kind of zoned out for a minute there and just snapped back. What happened?
Lots of gratuitous ass cheeks in the early 2000s in video games, and just becoming an old man and realizing that ass cheeks are a thing to endeavor for.
That the journey to the ass is more.
Oh my god.
More satisfying than the destination of ass, I guess.
All right, well, that seems as good a place as any to end it. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode. Wow, we did that. That's take 2, guys, and we're going to keep it episode 124 of Mythos Busters. We'll see you next time.